Hi everybody, I'm here in my space office again. Man, oh man, a lot has happened since the last time you saw me at this place. What was it, like November 2024? Yeah, glad to be here again. So, Pirate101, the popular MMO released following the success of Wizard101. Another heavy hitter with a ton of fans, adventure, and content worth appreciating to so many people. Not me though. Now, prior to the making of this video, I made a series documenting my entire journey through the game of Wizard101, which I only made because I ran a video poll in December of 2023 that had Wiz as a heavily requested topic, barely beating out Space Chimps and robbing it of its proper place in history. Space Chimps 1 million subscribers special, please, I beg, get me to 1 million and I will. So I did that. It became responsible for some of my most popular videos, the first of which doing better than the last two combined for some reason. Never really got why people watch one part of a multi-part series and then leave it, but regardless, since then, Wizard101 feels like it's been gaining more action than it has in a while. With console ports and a growing social media presence, the release on console saw huge influxes of player counts. Now it's better than ever to give the game a shot, and personally, I reaped from some of the rewards. Fame, a mild YouTube monetization fortune, a makeshift plush that I thought came out good, so I bought like 12 of them just to be safe. I think they look fantastic. Am I right, lads, or am I right, lads?
You are right, lad.
Thank you, lads. That means a lot. By the way, new plush coming soon. Link in the description. Please, please, please support. It's limited time. I even got added to the Extra Credits program, where they have content creators connected to Wizard101 and King's Isle games, so they get free stuff. I don't really know what else I got besides this badge. But I knew that even when I was working on this project, even after it was released, that I wasn't fully away from everything. Finnegan Jackalboots cemented their legacy in that journey, but it was nowhere near done. I knew that sooner or later, I'd have to come back, return to the spiral, and finish what I started. Because the story of Wizard101 does not end at Wizard101. There's a whole freaking spiral universe we gotta look at and consider. And Pirate101 just so happens to be the rest of the story that we're missing. For now, at least. There's a new game coming soon. And this is an entirely new perspective of this collection of worlds, a completely separate adventure from the one we voyaged on. There's old friends, new faces, and of course, a new set of problems that nobody can solve except for me. This is a tactical RPG in the early 2010s in the same universe as the previous game. In turn though, like Wizard101, Pirate isn't in the greatest of positions when it comes to documenting the story or later portions of the game. Because the game is so long and relatively niche, key events aren't really compiled in a good manner, and gaining footage is a challenge because of that length. It makes more sense for me to try playing this game and getting an idea of what was missing. Scratch that itch of what lied behind this game I mostly knew from Disney Channel commercials. So here's how today's story's gonna go and how I did everything. Just like Wizard101, Pirate101 was made possible by fans and viewers across the channel for some reason willingly volunteering themselves towards completing this adventure. Across it all, I made it my biggest focus to complete the main campaign. Main campaign, remember that, along with any moments that are too important to ignore, but not main content. This took months to accomplish, and fellas, I'm a student. My academics had to take the occasional priority of Pirate. Plus, I don't think it would have been really healthy to try completing this game in 3 weeks. It's quite literally designed to be an adventure you play across stupid long periods of time. If I did what I did with Wizard again, I don't think I would be this chipper today. There are currently 2 arcs in Pirate101's story. Each arc should be considered sagas though, because like the arcs have arcs within them. The name still doesn't make sense to me. For the sake of sparing time, I really gotta make this clear to a substantial amount of you fellas. This is about Pirate101, not Wizard101, even though they are siblings, even though they are connected to each other in location, content, assets, world building, anything that is relevant to only one game and doesn't need to be mentioned here isn't gonna be brought up here. You got like 3.5 hours of videos from me on that alone. Please keep that in mind as the scale and substance of Pirate differs significantly, but there is gonna be some double dipping context where necessary in order to better comprehend what's going on in here. You do not need to watch the Wizard101 videos beforehand, but if you like this video and somehow haven't seen the complete story of Wizard101 or the trilogy of videos that came before it, I'd recommend watching those as a refresher or after the fact. And after all of that, I did it. It was completed after so much compiling and reviewing and writing, but here we are again, finally ready to set sail. And with all this in mind, it's time to return to the spiral, get ready, grab your snackaroos, unpause your game, set this up as your background noise, do whatever you gotta do. And by the end of this journey, you will know about everything you can find in Pirate101. Right after this flashback. Well, cheesy roll chalupas. I just beat the final boss of Dark Souls 3. Now it's finally time for me to start playing Elden Ring. Oh goody, oh goody, oh goody, oh goody, oh goody. Well, shoot, that looks like a time rift. That's probably not good. Well, this is new. Pirate101 takes place in the Spiral. This is a place that used to be a giant planet known as First World. It was created by Grandfather Spider and Grandmother Raven. They made some Titan children, destroyed it all. Spider's heart was stashed as the core of the Spiral. There's a few other variables, but I'm gonna be real, that doesn't matter as much in this story. This is to an extent irrelevant to what we need to know. See, the biggest difference we gotta emphasize at the start of this journey comes from how our scope differs. While Wiz is more focused on the greater scale of events across its journey, being focused more on ethereal beings or enemies capable of mass destruction, such as Grandpa Spider and Grandma Raven, things that almost or are intergalactic that we face thanks to our wizard networking leading us to elite teams, important heroes, and connections to the creators of these collection of worlds. Pirate is more interested in the international affairs of each respective Spiral world. It's scrappy. We're more reliant on the tools that we manage to gather and scrounge up compared to the almost privileged status of being isekai'd at the start of Wizard 101, where we rarely stoop to those low levels seen across Pirate as a consistent variable. The general theme of sociopolitics is something significant in both games, but essential to Pirate. Our relationships with each nation determines the outcomes and eventual results of the journey. But at the same time, there's consequences to all of this, many of which will be relevant later on. But for now, we have the issue of Arc 1 of Wizard and Pirate taking place at roughly the same time. Our two different characters quite literally saving the Spiral within the same week. For better or for worse, I'm as good as dragged back into my earliest days in the Spiral from 2023. Clean slate and all, but in a worse position actually. In Wiz, I was taken from Earth, and I guess because of all the time travel bullshit I just went through, I gotta come up with a fake identity, restart all my stats, all my wizard powers and connections they're all good as gone for the time being. We gotta come up with an identity for this adventure. My pirates, we are no longer Finnegan Jackalboots. From here on, I am to be known as the one, the only, Finnegan Finkel. I even came up with an origin story, partly because it's required to progress the tutorial, but it made me fall into more of the Finnegan Finkel character. When I was young, my mommy and daddy were eaten by a sky squid. Bless their souls, those things are horrifying. And soon after, I spent some time serving in the Marleybone army, because the best way to learn about your enemies is to become them. With that being said, how did I get here? What am I doing in a little prison in a pirate ship? Well, it's a little bit of a story, but let me break it down for you. Sometime before my arrival, a little thing known as the Polarian War happened. A major military conflict that involved the 4 Spiral powers. Remember these 4, all of them are important to this adventure. First off, Polaris. It's a snowland ruled by Arctic life, penguins, polar bears, things like that. The closest comparison we got is the French via penguins and the Russians via polar bears. So essentially there is a French revolution, and with the help of the other 3 powers, the revolution is successful, and the person to take over is Napoleon. I think that's how you say it. Napoleon. One or the other. If I say it wrong, I say it wrong. Now, while on this victory high, he decides to set up the Polaris military, revise everything, Navy gets rebuilt, then he decides to turn on the very same people that helped the revolution even happen. So we got Monquista, Spain's equivalent, with monkeys as the lead species. Then there's Valencia, Italy themes with horses, and of course, Marleybone. And I don't really care for the first 2. They've been a thorn in our sides more than actual people for my interactions, and Marleybone has caused me more problems, discontent, and unhappiness of any location in the Spiral. I truly do not like them. They have been responsible for so much frustration and conflict in Wiz. The British dogs are not my friends. It's on site. Now, Napoleon's new rule proves to be a challenge for the other 3. He's very much a major threat, enough to where if he continues down the path and manages to defeat the Spiral powers, it wouldn't be much longer before he decimates the remainder of the worlds. He needs to be stopped. So there is a gradual effort, many sources are diminished, all that. At a certain point, Marleybone has a big chunk of its land taken over by Polaris, and Valencia decides that enough is enough. They were tired of chucking lives on the front lines only for them to be slaughtered by a funny penguin. So they invent the clockworks, military machines built for the sole purpose of being military, soulless, and hellbent on the destruction of those who oppose it. A worthy challenge for Napoleon. Would have been fine here until about at the same time a good chunk of his army betrays him, and Marleybone has a backyard revolt, so he's screwed, and Polaris once again has a political change-up that we see more of via a second revolution in Wizard, but that's way after the timeline of Pirate. We can ignore that right now. And Marleybone, feeling kind of embarrassed for being owned by the little penguins so much, decide to lock them in their Skull Island location of Fort Elena. Now that's not all though, we have a lot more to be concerned about, in specific regarding the clockworks in Valencia. Once Valencia basically thrusted the robot men to lead their navy, they thought they could keep doing that in order to continue the advances of their nation. They thought they could rely on robots to do all their work for them. Too bad it didn't work. Valencia eventually loses control of all their clockwork men, now really only focused on destruction and power as they become their own isolated machine-based power, using Valencia's navy as a basis, and from there doing nothing but advancing the militia while pretending to work alongside Valencia, trying not to like betray them or be like, you know, they're friends but they're also enemies, to clarify. And while this is going on, some rogue captains began to arise because everything here was a mess. Some captains would jump nation to nation to fight whenever possible. It gets to a point where some are straight up unable to contribute in the spiral powers, so instead they do their own thing, chasing after the riches and the benefits of being independent and attacking the powers, which created the first ever proper pirates that have been around for at least a few years, so it's hard to say how long ago this war was. As for the clockworks, they are led by Kane, one of the first clockworks, supposedly smarter, more aggressive, and more powerful than any organic creature, and definitely gonna be a problem. And through his court of elite clockworks, we're really just gonna have to do what we can to evade them whenever I get out of here, whenever that may be. I was arrested by Kane's spymaster Deacon for smuggling across the spiral borders, and I guess that was enough for them to shove me onto a prison ship, going who knows where. And really all I can do now is wait for something to happen to see where I end up. I hope I don't end up like that guy. Oh, here we go, I got saved by a monkey, that's cool. My saviors go by Boochbeard and Mr. Gandry. To an extent, they're as much mascots of the game as they are to traditional pirates of the Spiral, who were told to free me as apparently I'm destined for greatness and whatnot. We have origins for both of them. As for Boochbeard, he's simply a traditional pirate. He is pretty much as traditional as you can get. He is just a guide and legend of the Spiral. As for Gandry, he's one of those pirates that the navies did not like because of his temper, so he joined forces with Boochbeard and acts as the brains of the operation between those two. In addition, we gotta look at the Boxes event. For anyone unfamiliar, this is a limited time event in Wizard 101 where wizards can go back in time to assure 5 separate destinies from occurring. Otherwise, time travel prevents them. As for 4 of them, they're connected to Wizard, but one of them is actually about this duo. So basically, thanks to the help of the Professor, who's like one of the 3 dogs in this franchise I tolerate, Wizard players went back in time to stop this nemesis, the Maestro, and right before either game starts, he puts a big old bounty on Boochbeard and Gandry, and they get imprisoned by the Red Claw gang. This leads to Wizards sneaking onto the ship and freeing these nice fellas. As they all try to escape, they get caught by Maestro and Deacon, discussing how there's gonna be like an orphan pirate who they gotta imprison and get rid of. It's me, they're talking about me. He mentions that Boochbeard and Gandry are gonna free them, and that'll cause a chain reaction that will therefore prove to be a major issue of the Armada. So, just to be safe, they try and fail to defeat the trio trying to escape. They kind of just disappear mid-fight for some reason. Like, I felt like Deacon would give more of an effort to stop this major issue of power. If a magical talking dog came to me and said, hey, you need to kill your neighbor, I would probably do it. But yeah, from here, Boochbeard and Mr. Gandry realize that, hey, Choopo's gonna save Pirate 101. We better find him. So both sides sought me before the game started. Armada arrested me for smuggling because they couldn't come up with an excuse to imprison me while I was like just living in a dumpster on account of being forced back in time. Then, you know, you saw the commercials. The duo finally grabbed me. They get out to repay the time travel imprisonment thingy. So as we make our way to freedom, we decide to free another prisoner by the name of Wing Chun, who's gonna remain loyal to us throughout our quest as a way to say thank you for freeing him. If I'm Luffy, if I'm gonna be king of the pirates, then damn it, this is my first mate. This is Zoro. I used him in fights for like 20 minutes before replacing him, and then I never used him again. He was left in my pirate ship as useless fodder forever. Now this takes us to the introduction of our new combat and gimmicks. If these were bad, we were gonna be dealing with a bad time throughout the adventure. The three major things to remember are the tactical fights, the sailing, and the crewmates. In the prison escape, we get to see firsthand what each of these are like. Pirate 101's closest comparisons are other tactical RPGs like Fire Emblem, Advanced Wars, and Final Fantasy Tactics. You, your crewmates, other players, and their crewmates all take the battlefield and have different abilities to compete in whatever objective is needed to win. Most of the time, it's to defeat the other enemies fully. Whoever runs out of health first loses, but on occasion, it will be things like defeating one specific guy or breaking some contraption on the map. We have 5 classes of pirates and crewmates that are chosen based on what crime you were accused of committing in that starting Q&A. There's the Buccaneer, tanky and melee focused, the Swashbuckler, fast and dependent on being up close and personal, Privateers, focused on buffing your own teammates through spells and changes to the arena, Witch Doctors, another support class that's focused on weakening the enemies through debuffs. Basically just wizard magic but worse. That's literally canon. It's just weaker magic. We will talk about that later. And the class I ended up with for the crime of smuggling, the Musketeer. Musketeers are ranged focused. In single player, they are much more reliant on attacking from a distance before enemies can get up close to them. Though I gotta iterate because I am playing this game with other people, we went from having 4 choices to upwards of a dozen troops on the battlefield at any given moment. Although progress is based on if the player pirate survives a fight, not the crewmates. They are technically expendable in battle, just like in Kirby Return to Dreamland, where the levels would be forcibly restarted if player 1 died. Do you guys remember when that was implemented? That's so stupid. Now, when it comes to the crewmates, there are characters who will show up on the story, and on occasion, based on story relevance and situation, may even join our crew and become playable. Anyone can become a crewmate, as we're gonna see, and Wing Chun just so happens to be the first. Each class has some exclusives, some locked behind side quests, but we're gonna have several instances of major characters joining the main cast, joining the crew, becoming permanent long-time members, and then occasionally being forgotten about in the story. Like that's a serious bad habit. So during our first battle, the Clockwork Soldiers attempt to prevent our escape, led by Deacon. It's an astounding failure as he skedaddles as the ship falls apart, leaving us under Boochbeard and Gandry's custody to who knows where. And well, we got a crew, so we should have a ship. And that leads us to sailing. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, it isn't bad, but you know, it could be better. It makes sense for there to be a boat-on-boat combat. That's like the thing pirates are known for, other than having parrots and eye patches and missing limbs. We use these ships as the primary way of travel, and this is cool but annoying knowing what we've lost. Gonna try mitigating Wizard 101 comparisons unless needed, but our wizard privileges blessed us with the World of Doors, things exclusively wizards could use that allow for fast travel from location to location. Easily the biggest consequence of being forced on this glorious initial position is the fact that our air-ocean transport is the fastest way we get from location to location via cloud seas, skyways, and all that. We're able to voyage across space like it's Treasure Planet, but man, let me tell ya, you will be forced to go between each world and island within them in a pretty slow manner. Enough to where if you mistime a single teleport, you will have to travel for minutes at a time, which easily add up. Plus, if 2 ships collide, it leads to a ship battle, which is kind of cool, but absolutely longer. You should only do it when you have to do it. Otherwise, do not attempt this unless it's for a quest. What I'm saying is that sailing is a little boring. There's no real initiative to sail here other than to not initiate unneeded battles as punishment for bad placement. Sometimes that just seems to be a trend in the 101 games. They love to do this type of thing. But eventually we land and find out we are on the Skull Islands, these being the spiral equivalent of the Caribbean, with confirmation that according to the Spiral First World, this location was geographically close to Azteca, so basically we are around South America. It's a safer space for many pirates and their treasure-seeking pals to attempt and create their own nations. Skull Island is led by Captain Horace Avery. To be honest, this should be the main mascot of the game instead of Boochbeard or Gandry, because spoilers, these two are totally completely irrelevant to the story from here on out. They really only act as occasional tutorial mentions. It's weird that they bail and never really contribute again other than the loading screens, more so doing their own thing throughout the remainder of Arc 1. But Avery is there for the long haul. And he's a pretty interesting character. He won ownership of Skull Island through a bet against a Marleybone governor throughout the events of the Polarian War that Avery abused that time to the best of his ability through pirating and pillaging specifically Monquista's treasures in their colonies across the spiral. Now here he sits, comfortably semi-retired with the riches and not being dead, which is pretty rare in the industry. But now he's focused on continuing to grow in power due to being considered one of, if not the most successful pirate ever. So now he has a new goal. With his wealth, he purchased the Skyway that Skull Island's on and transformed this Marleybone colony into a major pirate haven for all to enjoy. He intends to expand to a greater level of power while also preventing the other spiral powers from attacking him. Yet at the same time, he intends to make this into a republic of sorts, being a relatively chaotic state where people would hold power, a place where government isn't really a concern. Perfect for pirates to live at. And though Marleybone and Monquista are still gonna try and continue to expand their influence around here, it's really not gonna go anywhere. At Skull Island, these guys are all treated like a greater evil that all pirates just attack for the hell of it. Does not matter, they keep on getting frickin' owned for their attempts to exist. Now Avery tasks us with the mission to go find his crewmate Finn, who fled to the nearby Skull Mountains with a jade amulet that Avery wants back. In exchange, he'll give us our very own pirate ship. So head on over there and stumble upon this species of frogs, the Troggies, doing what they can to cause more problems because of Finn, and here we meet another lifelong crewmate pal, Bonnie Ann, a fox who I swear to God, if I see even one of you thirsting over her in the comments, I'm gonna rebrand to an ASMR channel where I shame you for eating gas station snacks. But yeah, Bonnie is a fellow musketeer. I do quite enjoy the vibe she brings to the function. We're gonna be seeing a lot of her on the front lines. Very useful companion. Like when we go up to Finn and absolutely stomp that guy. Freaking fine paste on the cement. Give me the amulet. I better see a little sailboat in my possession right now, Avery. God damn it, Avery. It's time to learn about Captain Gun through a puppet show. Oh my God, I love these, you have no idea. Every once in a while, the game's gonna have a lore drop. So to do this, they have these little animated shorts that describe the in-specifics of what you gotta know. And this is something I wished happened so much more in the game. This is just this cute little break of pace that makes the story so much easier to swallow and comprehend rather than the stiff models with walls of text that confuse my Choopo chimp brain. Plus, it makes it easier for me to overlay footage with whatever I'm working with. These are great. So Captain Gun was a big deal. He was a pretty high tier pirate, a big deal to go up against. On one of his many voyages, he went to the land of Mooshu, aka Cow-Asia / Japan / China. It's a mix of them all. And he discovered the delicacy of a yum-yum fruit. Delicious and incredible with medical benefits with abilities to reduce aging, cure disease, increase strength. Not a placebo, just a magic fruit for all organic life. But Emperor Yoshihito, ruler of Mooshu, he doesn't really like that. It's a sacred fruit. Emperor Yoshihito goes, "Hey man, don't be stealing our fruits. We got a problem on our hands, Mr. Pirate. Illegal activity. You're stealing my fruits. That's a crime, Mr. Pirate, sir." Guess what happens? So Captain Gun smuggles across the border a bunch of fruit, and it started being implemented in a bunch of things like bread, cakes, puddings. The biggest hit is when it gets put into bottles and it's referred to as yum. It's like rum. It's like alcohol. Oh, that's cute. This isn't even in the script. I just realized that. And then he retires as the richest pirate in history until Mooshu gets their revenge and decapitates him. Oh no. Captain Avery wants Gun's treasure, though it's not known where it is, because first we gotta find his last will and testament, and from here on we're essentially working with Avery to attain mutual benefit. We help each other out. We hopefully don't betray each other. I don't know, I could see him stabbing me in the back if it's convenient. But he sends me to a local tavern to meet an associate of his who's managed to find the will and testament. This leads us to meeting Ratbeard, who's kind of a dick. He's formed a crew and are gonna go find the treasure alone. So after the fight, he bails by himself, peeves off everybody else. Louis Lebisque, one of the fellas who were gonna join Ratbeard, who's left behind, he joins our crew. I almost completely forgot he was in the game, I'm not gonna lie to you. This one guy, Blind Mew, reveals Ratbeard's location, and mostly he's just a really uncool dude. Ratbeard kinda sucks. Bad dude with a bad attitude. Like a good chunk of our starting adventures are helping his deceased rat ghost crewmates that died because Ratbeard left them behind, left them to die. Roughly around this point is where you run into the paywall, by the way. Hooray! This is a children's MMO from the late 2000s and mid 2010s. It was inevitable for the game to implement a paid membership thingy, even though we can all agree this is a pretty outdated concept as much as it is beneficial for these companies. I think the paywall here is a little better than it is compared to Wiz. You actually start gaining momentum before the paywall comes up, so the car crash feels more severe and you're more compelled to keep going. But I would rather just pay DLC packs for the world than the subscription service. There's roughly 100 hours of gameplay to be had, and they cut you off in around 40 minutes. It's a shame, and to an extent, I do believe making the game more accessible, but I'm not nearly as upset compared to Wiz. That game should have the first 3 worlds entirely free minimum by now. The next major portion of the adventure gives us a pretty good idea of what to expect for the remainder of our journey. We see a lot of fetch quests, we see a lot of doing favors to random NPCs to progress. We see so many characters get captured that we gotta rescue or get held for ransom. To an extent, it'll blend a little, but here it's the game doing those typical pirate stories, getting it out of the system while also slowly but surely expanding upon them with their own little twists. Things like defeating the Flying Dutchman and getting his hook, defeating innocents. The end of this book sees us stopping and opposing gangs unhappy with the direction of Avery taking Skull Island, trying to destroy it in response. But anyway, the game is split into books, which are different from worlds, which are different from arcs. Essentially, there's like 20 to 30 books the game is split up to in order to better segment the story. I think the intention is to make these more into digestible conflicts that leads into an overarching story between them as much as they'll be isolated. And I kind of am gonna ignore the book thing. For some reason, Pirate101 reminded me of those Magic Treehouse stories where they start separate and eventually they lead into something greater. By the way, did you know there's like over 100 Magic Treehouse books? I don't know how you could read them all. I hope someone else remembers these. This is Geronimo Stilton, my goat Geronimo Stilton. Oh my god, I would make a Geronimo Stilton video. I love Geronimo Stilton. Yeah, though Pirate has books, they sure exist. All the events could have been split into each of these books in literature. That does not matter. I'm not gonna be looking at the books, but I'm happy they're a part of this. You know me, I don't like reading all too much. Plus, I'm not a wizard, I'm Finnegan Finkel. Pirates don't read. But really, all we do here, it's pirate stuff. Board ships, seek treasure, rescue innocents, prevent things that would probably kill us. We're nice here. The only highlight I could identify from this portion of the adventure comes from this one Aztecosaur tribe we encounter because they apparently evacuated their previous homes when learning about a dark prophecy, the one in specific being Morganth from Arc 2 of Wizard 101. The Aztecosaurs know she wants to hunt them down, so this is actually a really neat reveal from something that's gonna happen later on in the game, in the world timeline. The opener of the story does introduce a decent chunk of characters that may or may not be important later in the adventure. Frogfather, an infamous businessman who's reliant on favors, reminds me of the frog from Flushed Away. There's One-Eyed Jack, who's shrouded in a decent amount of mystery, has knowledge of seemingly anyone and everyone while also having uncertain origins. He'll be helpful as we progress. Same with the Blind Mute guy. He's implied to have supernatural teleporting abilities, just like Prospector Zeke. Why is there like a secret society of like magical teleporting old men in this franchise? I don't know. Madame Vadima comes from the haunted land of Darkmoor, who gives valuable prophecies and essential in Avery's roster. I in specific spend a lot of time with Old Fisheye, Avery's musketeer who trains the new musketeer pirates and gives them new skills. He's important because Fisheye has his fancy tickled by my ticklesome tickles and encourages his top pupil, Chantal Livingstone, to join my crew. For future reference, Chantal has simply spent her entire life trying to become the greatest musketeer of all time. She's been practicing a lot of her life and by that extension became my left-hand man and was in roughly 99% of my fights in this journey. I would say right-hand man, but currently that position is taken up by either myself because I don't trust anyone, or my pet fish that I adopt. His name is Tiny Mustard, one or the other, it makes no difference. I like Tiny Mustard, he's cool. And lastly, Mustang Sally, whose origins are a surprise tool that'll help us later. When all these super friends come together, I'll be able to get the exact coordinates, fingerprints, and blood type of Ratbeard. We know where he is and where Gun's treasure is in the lovely land we know and love, as on top of a volcano where a platypus tribe is going to sacrifice him, and of course it fails. They wouldn't willingly drop a character in a volcano in a kid's game. Just kidding, they do that right after. And then not only does Ratbeard join my frickin' crew, but after giving the most valuable treasure of Gun's heap known as the Monkey Chalice to Avery, he promotes us towards a new goal and objective. With him trying to transform this land into a republic, he's doing what he can to get a treaty signed with a spiral power to form into a proper republic and potentially mitigate continued invasions by rogue pirates who just want Skull Island to remain constantly in battle like it always has been. So his new plan for us is to go to the Monquistan colony nearby in the Skyway, offer the Monkey Chalice to the noble house of Ortega, aka original owners of the Monkey Chalice, set up a trade deal with them, and then profit. It doesn't work though. Ortega's fell from power because Monquista politics shift like every couple hours. It's a feat if he's in power for like a week. But after a bunch of kind of pointless quests and the repeated failure of the mission, Avery once again pulls out a dick move. This time around, he notifies every single pirate possible that I have found a portion of the greatest treasure map of all time. Everybody wants it. That it's like the one thing everyone will break treaties over because it's that valuable, including the Armada. So we gotta confront Avery where he, once and for all, reveals his true intentions with us and our journey. What's really going on? Avery is on the hunt for the land of El Dorado. It's a land with an unimaginably high amount of riches that was discovered by the explorer Marco Pollo. To assure the secrecy of this place, he broke the map into 7 fragments that each member of his surviving crew took to their respective homes. Now, technically, Avery was telling the truth because the monkey chalice was wrapped in one of the fragments in Gun's treasure. So we did find a piece. So with that being acknowledged, a proper deal seems to be made between Avery and dear old Finnegan Finkel, especially when Avery says,
"Hey, buddy, oh pal, wanna help me search for the one piece? I mean the El Dorado? I'll give you like half the stuff, and we probably won't betray you. Probably, maybe."
You know what, Avery? I don't know if I can trust you on that.
Well, shut up. I promise this is cool. Trust me, probably nothing bad will happen, and we'll get gold. Treasure, yeah. I'm a pirate. I'll buy you Elden Ring on Steam.
Well, why didn't you open up with that? I feel like that would have been the fastest way to recruit me, but sure, I'll do it. That sounds fun. Wait, how do you even know about that? How is there even time travel? How did you find out about any of that? Why? New major objective. Find the entire map and get to El Dorado before the Armada or anyone else can. We can do that by locating each former member of Marco Pollo's crew and retrieving their fragments. Among the 7, my mom is there. I don't remember my mom looking like that, but sure hope that one's not destroyed, considering she got eaten by a sky squid and is like super duper dead. So there's a very real chance that that portion of the map is gone forever. But also among them, there's Catbeard, who's the closest person from the crew we can hunt down and get the next fragment, located right here on the Skull Island Skyways. So head on over to his place and try to befriend him, all while appeasing Monquista wherever possible, because befriending respective nations is easily the best way we're gonna be able to travel to new locations for other fragments. So now it's like a whole chase across the island, generally just confusing what we've been doing. We bring the monkey chalice from Gun's treasure as the offering. They don't like it. Plus, every time we arrange a deal and complete it, Monquista's government is replaced by someone else, so we keep running arrangement. We keep doing stuff for them over and over. It keeps going wrong until we get asked to deal with this one guy, Gortez. See, Monquista found out the ancient locations across Skull Island held a whole bunch of golden treasure. Monquistans led the expeditions to retrieve more to attain more power until eventually getting hit by a roadblock when Gortez led one about a year before the start of the game, and then seemingly loses his sanity and lives among the ancient architecture. So, yeah, go stop that. And we do stop that, and Monquista's full of a bunch of pleased primates, and after all this, we're asked to imprison Gortez for wasting taxpayer dollars and sail over to the land itself for the ideal prison experience. So, time for another world, I guess. Monquista is the first home base of any of the spiral powers that we visited on this adventure. With that being said, there's a decent amount of history we know about this place. In their early history came the rise of the Holy Monquisition. They brought themselves out of an icky, sticky, barbaric era and believe they have ascended beyond anything compared to the rest of the world. The only true civilized beings here. In fact, calling them Monquistans crazy, wild, or simple-minded is the biggest insult you can give them. In the capital of Monquista City lived King Ferdinand IV, son of King Ferdinand III, beloved in the inner walls, despised by the poorer members of the society in the outer regions for being corrupt. Besides ruling, Ferdinand had a bad tendency to marry and then leave noblewomen as a way to continuously expand in powers and whatever. Overall, not a cool dude. Then Polaris War happens, Skull Island discovery, expeditions ensue, Gortez leads one of them. There's some supernatural items like a monkey paw that just so happens to exist here. Former Queen Catherine gets imprisoned for hiding agents across the Monquistan society. The point is that the nations decently flimsy by the time we get to them. And you could tell in the Polaris War when they did virtually nothing, they already seem to be stretched thin as is. Currently a deal is in play. In exchange for returning Gortez, Monquista will sign off a treaty deal that will allow trade with Avery and Skull Island. That's what we want. Upon arrival, first off, I know this isn't really a pirate activity, but as you're gonna see, this is closer to Mercenary 101 in my eyes. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Most children don't even know what that means. No one knows what a mercenary is, but that's what we're really doing. Ferdinand is grateful and asks we bring Gordonez to the prison of Zenada, I think it's Zenda, I don't remember, for a proper execution. But King Ferdinand signs a death warrant for Gortez, including me and probably anyone else in my crew. Was that intentional? I can be slaughtered without consequence in this country for running other people's errands. Very nice, very fun. As we manage to defeat the Monquista guards trying to end Gortez and me, we also free enemies of Ferdinand, Martino, Aguila, and Queen Eleanor, both members of a rebel army known as the Opposition. Both want to obliterate King Ferdinand for being an uncool, rotten, pickled peanut of conflict. So Zenda becomes the Opposition's capital and starts prepping a civil war to overthrow the pre-existing government. And if we help, they will also pinky promise a trade deal being signed on for, and possibly closer to good allies if we help on their end. So the first major chunk of Monquista goes to us finding former queens that Ferdinand got rid of, like find Queen Anne, she's happy to be back. Queen Catherine's a little depressed, she's not gonna be much use of the Civil War. Then one of the queens notes of the first major treasure we could use in this adventure, namely the monkey paw, a little relic that caused Monquista a lot of problems in the past. The monkey paw is exactly what it sounds like. It's a monkey paw. It can make you rich, but for a cost. Typical genie and wish-making BS ensues across the whole thing. For example, there's a guy who turned himself into a donkey, and after an expedition requiring fighting, verifying these guys called the Valvita brothers held the paw before they went missing and dying, while also having to fight other pirates, knowing we're starting to get the map pieces to El Dorado. It's a lot, and we get back the monkey paw. He simply wishes for more bananas to ruin the world economy even more. It's very funny. He's pretty dedicated to the bit. Also, we're technically an enemy to the country now. Never would have happened had King Ferdinand signed his death warrant properly. Like, it wasn't hard. You made an enemy for nothing. All of this was basically for nothing. I want to take a real quick moment to bring up that general gameplay is still pretty solid. The majority of gameplay is like an actual delight playing with people. Difficulty and maps kept getting added to the game while eventually building a rhythm. I don't know how else to describe it, but you can tell this is a game that isn't meant to be played over extreme periods of time. You're supposed to commit like a couple hours to several hours at most. Like, it took me 7 months to reach the end, and I never felt like the pacing was too bad. We'll note that this region is significantly smaller than Skull Island. Skull Island had 4 skyways and was generally pretty impressive, whereas here there's only 1 major skyway, and this is gonna be more standard as we go on. The worlds aren't gonna be nearly as big. Skull Island is 100% the largest area, and that's totally fine. Actually, Skull Island as a whole will keep coming back, in part due to it being our base. I mean, I technically have a pretty hefty margin of the Skull Island stock to begin with, working so closely with Avery. Again, this is our hub, this is our home. In the end, this is our priority, and as for the opposition, Gortez, all of them, well, they're just gonna have to deal with the war they have going on. That's not my main concern. This is going to be for power and for treasure, and guys, I gotta be frank with you, it's around this point that Avery offers up the El Dorado deal, but now with the Monquista War being fought out, we just gotta wait until we can reap those benefits. Right here is where the actual deal made to split the treasure 50-50 is actually established. Finding the treasure is capable of forever changing the hierarchy of power found across the spiral. Damn, Monquista's on fire, war be happening, civil war, let's go find more pieces of the map, that's not our fault. Specifically, the main man himself, we're looking for his piece, Marco Pollo. It's assumed we can find out more in the Valencian library, which is gonna be an issue because that's where the clockworks live. So head on over to this guy named Hooktail, get a sailing device called a windstone that's like necessary for traveling around different worlds of the spiral. Also attain travel paper permission for Monquista. I'm pretty sure they were just like jumbled with the amount of internal conflicts going on and they just signed off everything so they would leave us alone. I know Monquista was kind of short, but be honest, a decent amount of time, we were just traveling place to place for convenience, so it doesn't matter. But what does Avery think about this?
Did you find the map pieces yet?
No, Avery, I'm working on it. It's been like 20 minutes. It's been like an hour since you...
Yeah, you should get on that.
Valencia! We were here for like an hour tops. This is a short visit both in terms of history discussion and content itself. And in our current story, we just gotta get in and out. We gotta go to the library and then we gotta leave. I'd like to get back at the stupid horses at some point for being the ones responsible for the creation of the Clockwork Army, but there's only so much glue that I can eat in a day. Aesthetically, I enjoyed my brief stay here. The usage of greens gave us a location a significant and fun identity, unlike anything else in the spiral. It gave a vibe that this was an advanced populace, but almost more sinister, like this was a smog equivalent or something. I can appreciate it for, at the very least, being able to stand out. I was really worried it was gonna feel same-ish with the other major cities we've visited across the spiral, but no. Much of this world is partly in shambles. The Clockwork Army seems to be letting Valencians stay here under a more aggressive rule, and I do look forward to the inevitability of returning here, considering how important it's gonna be. But again, very short quests are the #1 way to indicate length of an area, and this is just a quick and humble in a smaller world compared to the rest. Starting off, we run into this guy, Steed. Remember Steed, please remember Steed. This will be an important character in like 40 or so minutes. Like, actually remember Steed. Sends us in the direction of the Sevilla Academy. This requires a disguise the Clockwork Army fails because they never really stood a chance on those I'm not a robot tests. It was already hopeless for them. At the academy, we find a scholar named Thaddeus, a new crewmate named Rodolfo, who I use somewhat often. Academy's in agony though, partly because the Armada's also looking for what we're looking for, and also because it's like finals week or something. Devastating, crushing news. Library has taken all the Marco Polo books. All of them are gone somehow. There are no copies anywhere in the entirety of the spiral, just this one copy found in a school library. The great idea. Generally, the remainder of this area is me and my crew sitting down and better realizing that, dude, we're gonna die if the Armada beats us to El Dorado. By this, I mean that nothing else matters to the Clockwork Army. They've been programmed to exclusively destroy. They are going to destroy anything that can prevent them from reaching their objectives, including families, islands, entire countries worth of people. Whatever needs to be done will be done. In fact, it seems they already got a piece of the map and intend to follow us around in hopes of finding more. Can't have that going on. We meet a mysterious fella, Fuel, not sure if he's good or bad, but totally an enigma that we're gonna have to keep our eye on into the future. You will be obscenely confused when Fool returns in like half an hour or something, unless I say this line right now. Luckily, we're told that Pollo's navigator known as Christopher Clark took one of the pieces and moved to Marco Pollo's place of origin, Cool Ranch. I wasn't lying, this part is short, even shorter than Monquista. It's just like a quick stop. They made an entirely new location for like an hour of gameplay at most of the main story. It's actually very funny the more you think about it. I'm moving on. This was the first point of the adventure where I was curious why Pirate101 wasn't more popular. Like, Cool Ranch was such a highlight for me, being one of the largest and the longest area of the game. Cool Ranch includes a couple of skyways full of heavy Wild West inspiration and an absolutely stunning looking place considering the resources to make this world. Cool Ranch, to me, at the very least, feels like the first true original location of Pirate101. Something about it really caught me off, far more than the other locations in the game. Maybe it was the size or how it looked, but it actually utilizes its world theme to the fullest. It didn't really feel like we were in any areas for too long. Plus, the variety here is very good. There's bandits, trains, sheriffs, all the basic stuff you would expect from the hit 2011 animated classic Rango. One of the most prevalent characters worth looking at is Mustang Sally, a horse lady we stumbled briefly back at on the Skull Island Skyways. She's significant to the story as she correlates with the Cool Ranch legend of El Toro. Essentially, Sally in her youth was known as Carolina, and she was the daughter of the noble El Toro, who sought justice and good vibes across the world, specifically acting as the protector of Santo Pollo. She trained and did what she could to someday, you know, be the next El Toro, but her dad isn't all too big of a fan of that idea, and you know what that means? Abandoning her former life. Carolina becomes Sally in Skull Islands. She's a pretty competent fighter in her own time. Now the problems lay with her gaining a few enemies that want to destroy everything she's worked for and collected up to this point. She gets caught in a failed breakout of Napoleon, is stuck in the very same prison until further notice, but still, there's a couple more origins that are crucial for us to learn before going further, namely regarding the secondary conflict between the natives of Cool Ranch versus all the different spiral powers that decided to take control of the land. At the start, there's this duck named William. He would eventually betray the lovable bird friends to befriend and form treaties with Marleybone, seeking gold and expansion at this point of history. So William, desperate for wealth, fame, and power, would lead Marleybone's army to not only invade the homes of the bison natives of this land, but also sweep his fellow birds off their homes and farms. William becomes English Bill, which then went horribly horribly wrong when Marley doubled back on the treaties, left him with nothing. He wasn't all too very much too giddy with the giggles about that. Became a national enemy, laying waste upon all those who wronged him. Eventually, he would have to retreat across the spiral as he got chased down. He had to make the bold decision to enter Darkmoor. And for all our smart little wizard pals watching this, Darkmoor is that one scary nightmare land that got like monsters and shit all over it. And it just got added to Wizard 101 as a full world. Justifiably, nobody follows after him because it's scary. So William finds an ancient spirit before the spiral was formed in like this old thing. I don't even know what it was. It was just an old ghost. And William gives his soul in order to become an immortal monster known as the Duck of Death, only being able to perish with silver. Then there was the formation of the Magnificent Seven. And this was when criminals were far more common across the Cool Ranch. The Seven rose and were led by Wyatt Chirp, who made a legendary band of heroes to help him clean the streets of the not very good bad badness. You had Wild Bill Peacock, a very good sharpshooter, Calamity Jane Canary, an even better sharpshooter, Duck Holiday, it's just a pretty cool deputy, and the opposite of that other duck we just talked about, Buffalo Bill, Bat Masterson, Great Tracker, and Bat. Lastly, Billy the Kid, an outlaw until Wyatt sent him in the right direction, a little bit of a speedster. But eventually, like all good things, comes to an end, this in part being due to the death of Wyatt. He was almost too good of a leader, and as such, it just led to an end of the Wild Bunch. Maybe they were responsible for his death. Maybe it was just a sensitive topic for them all. Regardless, it sucks, therefore causing crime rates to rise up. For example, the small town of Tumbleweed is struggling with the Wild Bunch gang, to give an idea of how horribly everyone's doing. Cool Ranch is not in a good spot, but the last major story revolves around Death itself. He's pretty cool in this spiral. Here he works taking care of any souls who gotta go bye-bye, in specific the infamous Captain Blood. Now, Blood lived a pretty extensive life on top of being a genuinely awful person, ravaging, scavenging, doing the whole pirate thing to a T. On his deathbed, he challenges the Grim Reaper to some cards, and Death has a gambling problem, seeking therapy over it. He takes the game anyway. Game goes well on Death's behalf, so in the final hand, Captain Blood raised his soul on his hand of cards. Death wins the hand, and Blood, out of a desperate final resort, sneaks off into the bathroom and ultimately escapes to the saloon they were playing in, therefore creating an immortality cheat, even harder to exploit than that one time if the snail touches you. Like, this is the route. Blood cannot die. He is a skeleton man, though. In order for his soul to be collected, Blood's hand and Blood's hand both have to be brought to the exact table that he had his game with Death. Captain Blood cannot die. He is a skeleton man, and he also takes off the hand that he was playing poker with. This requires collecting the cards, collecting Blood's severed hand, and being able to take all of them to complete the game and end it. Otherwise, there is no ending to the game, and Blood can just do whatever the hell he wants as an irregularity in the system. So, like, you can kind of see why this is a problem. So after Avery disappointingly glared at Finnegan Finkel, that's me, he's disappointed in me for failing to find a map piece for him. The next objective here is to find Christopher Clark of Marco Polo's group. He's dead. Next best thing is to ask his son, Meriwether Clark, what the hell can we even do? I don't know. Everyone who wants this fragment of the map is after this kid as well. Everybody is hunting him down. And as we try to chase down this poor chopped chicken chuddy, the crew of pirates are forced to make peace with the bison and bird settlers of the world before the spiral powers made their way here. This is where we learned that from what I believe the Scorpions told us, this might be wrong, the Choopo of the past wrote this portion of the script at exactly 1:47 a.m. Captain Blood's in the possession of the map piece that we want, and as we just went over, he's kind of a slippery little skeleton man. This is gonna be a problem if we want to get Captain Blood's Chaos Emerald map piece. Befriending the settlers boils down to us returning some stolen charms from this Red Slash gang, get Meriwether back. I have a weird meetup with a guy named Desmond Argleston, only for the fact this random NPC happens to be related to the semi-important NPC in Wizard City. No idea, this just happened, just a funny little tidbit, makes me question how small this world and universe truly is. And now we're working with the Grim Reaper, or I guess under him. It's assumed he basically has like a whole company to collect souls, like he has Hades as a lackey, he has Tartarus as a base of operations. I like this rendition of Death. He's very normal, like a kind neighbor in his late 60s. He has a little backyard garden. Doesn't matter, let's talk about El Toro. This is Don Rodrigo, better known as the second El Toro. The original was Don Rafael. Don Rafael trains Don Rodrigo, and if you remember Mustang Sally Carolina, she was trying to be El Toro as well. Rodrigo felt bad and tried teaching her in secret. They start getting feelings for one another. I don't know how to feel about that. Raphael was a dick when he found out. Carolina leaves the home. Raphael freaking dies, and now Rodrigo works tirelessly as El Toro. And he wants my help to slaughter the awful toads causing problems in all the towns around. They're called the Banditoads. It's a very silly play on the words. I like that even if they're harming the innocents. Another group called the Froggerails are taxing folks. And regardless of that, they gotta die. They're being mean. And here's where a couple of whammies of knowledge put us in a chokehold, how I wish a nice lady who cares about me as a person would. I'm 6'4". Oh, hi, Duckadath. Nice to see you here. We're gonna end your existence. What's that? You work for the Armada now. Well, I guess we're definitely gonna corrode you from this plane of reality now. Oh, hi, Don Rodrigo. Wait, you're El Toro? I had no idea. Oh, wait, we know where Carolina McMustang Sally's at prison for Elena with Napoleon after he failed doing Napoleon stuff. I can use this to my benefit. And El Toro sure is gonna help with a jailbreak. The ghost of Raphael gives the thumbs up for marriage if you get him out of prison. And this leads to an intermission kind of. See, in these games, on occasion, you'll spend time questing at previous locations to talk to certain NPCs or doing a couple of fights. It's necessary, but it's also fun. But in Pirate, it's especially common. Like way too, almost a little too much, but right now it's fine. We go to Monquista, talk with our dear pal Gortez, and persuade him to help attack Marleybone's prison because getting Mustang Sally out benefits us. Napoleon can help Gortez in the Monquistan military civil war advances. So we do that, we do the whole prison break, there's a truce offered by Marleybone, we're just gonna cause problems because we can. Like, Catbeard warns us the easiest way to get both of these characters out of prison is gonna be like through instigating a war between Valencia's Armada, along with forcing tensions in the Monquista civil war, because like that would be, like that one would only benefit us, because Gortez is our pal, like we like Gortez, and honestly having my two biggest ops of the Armada and Marleybone fighting each other, you know, two birds with one stone. I'm quite okay with that. So through hard work, dedication, destroying naval ships from both sides, and temporarily capturing the daughter of a Marleybonian governor, friendly reminder we're pirates, this leads to both sides blaming each other and initiating a war. Fine with me, not my problem. With this gap in soldiers and whatever, we're pretty easily able to sneak in. We get Napoleon, we get some of his loyalists, get his hat. Fool's here also. Hi, Fool, how you doing? Hope you got out of prison and whatnot. And now El Toro and Carolina marry. Both of them join as my crewmates, kind of a shitty honeymoon to you also. But by resolving all of this, we are closer to finding Blood. Located in the haunted Skyway and blocked off by the Wild Bunch. Cannot enter until we find the Magnificent Seven once again. Well, Wyatt's dead, so it's more like the Moderate Six. Duck Holiday joins pretty quickly. Buffalo Bill gambles me to fighting his lackey Tyson for his return, and no idea why I was allowed to bring a gun to shoot Mike Tyson. Bill, Peacock, and Jane run the Silver Spoon. They join pretty quickly. Bat is a foreman now and joins after we help his crew in the mines, and Billy the Kid's imprisoned by some banditoads. Round them all up, and we become the new leader because we're just so cool. And for a grand old climax, kill off the Wild Bunch, and they have Little Timmy held hostage after this fight with the Magnificent Seven, and they officially return when Little Timmy becomes their leader, which is very funny to see firsthand. I'm sure they'll do great. I never actually expected the name of Little Timmy to be used in anything. And this takes us to the grand finale of Cool Ranch, finally encountering Captain Blood, who, for some reason, thinks it's a good idea to hang out near even a little bit of the vicinity of where he played Cards with Death, hiding the cards in the same general area. You're an idiot. This shit should be harder to find than El Dorado itself, and this just isn't helping. This is why El Toro is important. Don Raphael cut Blood's hand off in that fight that killed him, never got rid of it for some reason. Here's where El Toro actually joins the crew, by the way, in case you're wondering. This whole script's a mess, man. Not like it mattered. He's Frankie in Water 7, where everyone knew he was gonna be added and we were just waiting on it. But this leads to a lovely little finale of defeating Captain Blood once and for all on this massive screw up. This rat guy Sabatini gives the key as an entrance as a way of freeing what I would assume is his tormented soul after all this time. I always forget that's a thing that can happen in Pirate, or in these games in general. You can just die an untimely death and become a spirit or ghoul that's forced to roam around. But we head down to Blood's heap of treasure, confronted by Deacon once more. That rotten, no good Deacon, the beacon of evil. Cool fight goes on, break him into teeny tiny little itty bitty pieces, and dude, he's freaking dead. Deacon's loss literally removes him from the equation. Like, this actually kills him off. Our first major threat has perished. You gotta realize up to this point that death is so inconsistent in these games that when a character dies, you just don't realize. So for me, I just looked at this and I was like, we have attained another fragment of the map. This time, it's got the image of each crewmate who took a fragment of the map. And again, that I don't know, I don't know who this woman is. That's not my mom. Interestingly though, there appears to be markings specifically originating from Mooshu, so should probably go on over there and head on over there. What the frick is that about? Let's go back to Mooshu. Yay. Oh, I'm so tired. Can't lie to you, I'm weirdly obsessed with the idea we gotta double dip at Mooshu. Not on this adventure, but it's a location you visit really early on in Wizard 101, and it was a pretty traditional location to begin with, so unless they changed something around, I'm not all too jazzed about, oh my gosh, I haven't been blessed with this much beauty since the last time I was with your mother. Sailing was actually a great time. It was a hoot and dare I say a holler. Being able to visit these locations have completely improved my perspective on Mooshu. It's a bit more of the same gameplay-wise when it comes to Pirate. The area is new, but some aspects are reused from Wizard 101 Mooshu from 2009, and that's okay. That actually makes sense. I'd say though that the actual area, terrific though. No complaints. I love the presentation. This is like my favorite looking place. There's still variety. It's just that traveling was very, very common in this one. Walking in specific was the thing that got me. To clarify, Mooshu is where some of the complications start to arise, namely due to the potential confirmation of when Pirate 101's events take place. One of the puppet shows confirms that Emperor Yoshihito, the current emperor of Mooshu, has been put in a deadly coma due to the death wizard Malastare. And we already know what a Malastare is. He's a bad guy. He's bad. He almost destroyed the spiral and tried to kill me on like 3 separate occasions. But the wording here implies that Yoshihito is still in that coma, and this made me realize how long do these events take place in canon time, and where's the overlap of these events? What's the order? I was sent back to roughly Arc 1 time of Wizard 101. I have an idea of where in specific the story of like Wiz we are compared to this, but in the meantime, just keep this in the back of your mind for a few minutes. It's allegedly around the early periods of Wiz, and it's important for narrative reasons we figure this out. Before arriving to Mooshu, I meet up with Avery and we go over a potential plan for what's gonna go down here.
Hey, champ, can you like go get a map piece over there that's from Mooshu. Go to Mooshu. Go to Mooshu time. I'm gonna go find the other piece probably. I don't even know how we got the other piece.
You are so mean to me. I hate you. When arriving to this new location with my ever-growing crew, we first need to find a person by the name of Egg Foo Yun, who's being imprisoned by the Yakuza. We're relying on bribes and favors to give him back, and in this land, the Yakuza is good. They help poor people, and they kind of have to. With Emperor Yoshihito ill and inactive, the government has moved without him, and to say the very least, they're very corrupt. So starting missions are not only getting the permission to travel across the greater country, but yoinking back some taxes from the government. This is followed by stopping a General So for being a bad person, and to ruin his henchman's wedding. Steal the general's gift because that's a big deal. Imagine if their henchman was perfectly innocent and just got dragged into this because of their boss. Oh, by the way, Egg Foo Yun was lying. He leads the Yakuza, actually. The whole prison thing was a test. Starting to move up in the world. I'm friends with the Yakuza now. Yeah, no, they'll be helping out as much as we're gonna help them out, and the groundwork's already been established. Aid the Yakuza on missions, the overtaking a bad government as they do bad and no good things. Maybe we find a map piece on the way there. I lost count of how many times we need or have. So this is the conflict for the first half of this location, scrambling around until we find out where the piece is, but overall, so much initiative's being taken to mitigate the amount of problems going on across the spiral. Like, the Mooshu government does not play around. They assassinate a guy mid-puppet show. That's not nice. That's murder. Eventually, we find out a map piece here was given to Rook, the Grand Marshal of the Armada, but they can't decipher it. It's too complicated. The only way they can do that seems to be through the Scroll of Secrets, another MacGuffin that MacGuffins around. Where's the secret scroll? Where can we find it? Well, we gotta go over and head over to a flying turtle. We literally have no other choice. When Marco Pollo was proofing his map, he used the Scroll of Secrets as a way to make it even more deliberately complicated and challenging. So we need to get help from this this wise fellow named Kazooie, who's located on the celestial shrine that can be found on a magical flying turtle that can only be summoned here by gathering 5 turtle balls and throwing them into the Eye of Harmony. But what are turtle balls? Well, way back in the past, a group of 5 went on a journey to the west. It is just the story of Journey to the West, but in Pirate 101. If you know that one, you know this one. The first guy, Shinzang, he's pretty chill actually. He helps and gives up the ball pretty quickly. Then the rest of them can be found in their respective Temple of the Four Winds, with the exception of Monkey King. He's been very naughty, and as punishment, had a mountain dropped on top of him. He's in a cage, nothing new, offers the ball if we get him free. He also has to get his staff back, because apparently his cage has no key to open the lock, so the staff should just be able to get him out at the very least. Again, Monkey King's pretty infamous for how much problems he's caused. This is nothing new. I'm virtually indifferent. And how does that lead to Power Rangers fights? Why am I in a Megazord, you may be asking? I really could not tell you. I truthfully, I think this just happened. I fought Godzilla. I think it's significantly funnier that I don't contextualize why ancient Japan farm animal world has a major mech fight that only happens this one time and has never showed up again or mentioned again. It's like one of the most memorable moments in the entire campaign, and it feels so random after hours of starting a grind with the same character icons over and over, because this at least has one different player icon. Wow. After killing Godzilla, the Monkey King escaped on his own and has no reason to give the turtle ball. So as an act of revenge, we sneak on this crown of command thingy into his old armor, so that after he puts it on, not only does he give up the ball, but he joins our crew. Wow. By the way, turns out Monkey King never had the ball to begin with. He gave it away while running from someone, and why are you the way that you are? Don't worry about that, honestly. In fact, just all of them have their turtle balls missing or stolen or somewhere else. It leads to a bunch of excruciating backtracking that only feels worse because of the amount of sailing involved. Like, had I not prepped for this and set up the right portals and had people deliberately telling me where to set up like locations and teleport to, I would be walking for over 2 hours of gameplay. Talk to this guy, do a quest, new turtle ball. Talk to this guy, do a quest, new turtle ball. Talk to this guy, new quest, new turtle ball. Talk to this guy, do a quest, new turtle ball. Wow, we did it! All 5 turtle balls acquired. It's a big old turtle, and now he does like a test, and there's guardians you gotta beat. Oh look, it's Kazooie. He's here the whole time, and now we get to decipher the Mooshu. We did one thing that we came here for. We get a new crewmate, maybe some new friends, and overthrew a government. We have 2 map pieces. The Armada has 2, and hey, maybe we have 4. Now, I wonder what Avery did on his mission. Hey Avery, I'm back. I know how the map works. Did you find Catbeard's piece of the map? Avery?
Okay. Don't get mad at what I'm about to say.
I don't like the sound of that, but you know what? I will give you a fair chance to tell me what went on. I'm very open-minded, and I'm sure that we can work this out. How did you even mess up that badly? Karma has come to be karmatic, I think. You remember back in Cool Ranch when we kinda sorta 100% started a war between the nations of Valencia and Marleybone? Yeah, so apparently they found out who provoked that, and to say the least, there's some consequences we gotta address. Now, like, Valencia and the Clockwork Army already want me dead. I can live with that one, but Marleybone, oh no. The British dogs have gone out of their way mid-war to identify the parties responsible for this conflict, find them and punish them. In specific, Catbeard has been taken away and placed under the arrest of Marleybone. Now, normally this would be fine, but just for the fact he has connections to El Dorado and the map leading to it, we have to seek out this land and get him and get Catbeard. And worst of all, I have to go and visit the land of Marleybone. Welcome to Marleybone, my least favorite population of the Spiral and my second least favorite location, because friendly reminder, caramel exists and I feel like my ancestral caveman rage returns to my soul upon the sight of seeing the little rodent characters found here. First thing I want to know and get out of the way, I want to figure out a brief timeline of events, in specific regarding Pirate 101 and Wizard 101. With a story this extensive and not so perfectly documented, there's bound to be a few complications, but the general confirmation is that Pirate 101 takes place around the start of Wizard 101, potentially even right before any of the events of Wizard. Obviously, this would still be difficult because you're seriously telling me the Clockwork Army is not once mentioned in the POV of the Wizard? How would that be possible? Does not matter. Mooshu confirms that the Wizard has yet to complete Mooshu, yet they get mentioned a few times, which implies that they're already making moves in the Spiral. Now, I believe that Marleybone is in the area of near perfect overlap. My little headcanon is that Wizard 101's Arc 1 takes 1 to 2 weeks. Pirates Arc 1 is like 3 to 4 weeks at the shortest, give or take. On account of Marleybone being in one of the worst positions a nation could be in, with prison breaks, war, a losing war by the way, it pretty elegantly overlaps with what the wizard has to do in their Marleybone expedition, namely halt the crimes that have been going on the rise. Entirely possible that resources that should be going to officers have been sent to the greater military to defeat the Clockwork Army. And actually, it'll get confirmed that Marleybone Pirate takes place right before Marleybone Wizard. So in other words, I'm guesstimating that Wizard just started their adventures in Krokotopia as we're moving around in Marleybone. And then maybe as we make our way out, they are now making their way in. Regardless, the Wizard player goes from Marleybone to Mooshu, while the Pirate goes from Mooshu to Marleybone. I'd assume the general events of both characters in both of these locations happen at the same time. Plus, considering both go to completely different regions of both worlds, this can exist as a possible option. I don't know, it was just bothering me a bit and I wanted to figure it out. I feel horrible for pirate characters scraping by and causing a bunch of problems with a bunch of people with wildly inconsistent morals, while the wizard character unlimited access to Gatorade and shit at the pristine Wizard City. Both characters are defeating major threats. It's odd that not even a single wizard is helping Marleybone in the war, but whatever, here we go. When it comes to Marleybone as a location, careful who you call ugly in middle school. Well, gone are the rooftop runs, slaughtering the misbehaving, oppressed kitty cat citizens of the land. We are now exploring the Skyway, little towns in the front lines. There's a lot to be done, and it was actually pleasant seeing all of this. Plus, I was delighted to see some familiar faces. There's Sherlock Bones' brother, Mycroft Bones. Sherlock never shows up here. A bunch of NPC dogs that reuse models that I'm a sucker for. Like, these fellas have been ingrained into my mind for some reason. And of course, a one-off villain that specifically screws with the timeline for being important in both Wiz and Pirate. And I don't know how we should note them again, but hi again! In order to get the thumbs up for entry to Marleybone, first we gotta get travel parts and head to Mooshu. And we're only doing this to net a trade deal with the Yakuza and Marleybone. And we're only doing this because a Marleybone ambassador will only let us travel if we can make this happen. This task involves me defeating a few fellas upon my arrival. Oh my goodness, the dogs might be a bit upset with me. To clarify, Valencia / the Armada is a mere days away from the takeover of Marleybone. Justifiably, the nation is pissed at Catbeard for assisting and provoking this war that is very much looking to break the country down. While I'm just wearing my stupid Finnegan Finkel pirate hat, munching on some Cheez-Its, watching this person get apprehended for something I was absolutely partly responsible for. Through the help of Catbeard's lawyer, Mr. Swidget, we're able to sneak into Catbeard's holding cell. The plan now seems to get Catbeard's help with finding a map piece, so how are we gonna do that? Well, the war was not going so great, and desperately seeking ways to add bodies to the front lines, qualified sailors, shipmen, etc. are all allowed on parole under a captain of the Royal Navy. The only way we can get access to a captain of the Royal Navy is to become one through a second law passing, allowing for citizens to work up to the ranks of a captain. Oh goody, I get to become a soldier for my least favorite folks in the spiral. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter how fancy this place looks, it's still Marleybone. Dude, at some point it got so bad the yellow arrow that we all know and love at the bottom middle of the screen went away for a bit. I can't be too upset with a game this big. Bugs are bound to happen, and this is probably the worst it'll get, probably, maybe, no, just kidding, stay tuned. Marleybone has zero reason to consider me for climbing up the ladder, but the only way that's gonna happen is through casually dismantling Armada stations that have been planted here. Too bad that's like a suicide mission, and their base is gonna be pretty extensively defensive. What chances do we got? Well, joining us for directions in this infiltration is Gracie Conrad, who looks exactly like the dog with scary foam teeth in Celestia. Sneaking around the base, breaking apart the spokes that keep it floating, make it to the workspace of another member of Kane's lead members, Bishop, pretty heavily leading to the Armada side of the world and projecting a surrender within the coming week. According to this lovely puppet show, the final step is going to be sending out an all-out attack on the Isle of Fetch, this being Marleybone's true last bastion of this war, but made fight another chunk of the Clockwork Army Armada, this time being led by the Rook guy. Clockwork Army set up a neutrality treatment with Mooshu. They're cool with this. The Rook's army is gonna block them from the other side. GG easy, nothing they can do. The messages being shown here also ends with Bishop noting progress on another project involving these little bird creatures created by some sort of toy maker and with markings from another world, Aquila. That's cool. Bishop shows up, remembers we're the people who ripped Deacon apart limb from limb, runs over to Kane and notify what's going on here, kind of forgets to tell Rook about this whole thing. And that's gonna be a real issue for him when he shows up and half of the army is missing. And then, explosion. The thingy is destroyed. The admirals are oh so happy to hear this. To celebrate, me, the only one who's done anything out of all of these admirals, has to go help in the Isle of Fetch, which are also not doing great, only dealing with clockwork invasion, but quite literally not being fed enough of any sort of rations in order to remain hungry for war. Do that, help over there, secret weapon time. Marleybone's gonna make machines to counter the last time one of these nations made a machine army. Surely it can't go wrong a second time. And you'd be right. One of the admirals actually used the knowledge we attained to the benefit of this war, sneaking up the Rook's armada from Mooshu because they didn't know what happened involving us attacking earlier. Tasked as a backup captain to board and fight this battle, save any soldiers over there, but like, can one of you 50 other admirals help me out for a bit? Like, this is too much for little old me. I became a citizen of your country like a day ago. Now I'm ending your dumb war that I may or may not have caused. We're not gonna worry about that. Fly over to a bunch of shipwreckage, retrieve Nelson, fight Rook a bunch, take him down. So just on a hot streak recently, so good for me. Thanks to this act of bravery, I am finally recognized as a captain under Marleybone, and therefore given the chance to free this stupid freak who helped as much as remained a burden to us. Catbeard's trial has begun, and somehow Boochbeard and Gandry managed to show up. Like, why aren't you plot relevant? I thought you guys were gonna be mascots. Why do you never appear? Mr. Swidget proposes Catbeard should be released on parole under the supervision of me as my crewmate. So, out of obligation, I guess he's latched onto my legacy like a tumor. Oh, by the way, you remember how the whole world mission here was to free Catbeard and get his map piece? Well, he reveals where it is. It turns out that he lost a bet with Captain Gunn and got added to the treasure pile. The very first piece we found in Skull Island was his. This was all for nothing. I hate you. I mean, sure, we saved a bunch of Marleybonians from the war against those filthy robots, but otherwise there was really no other incentive besides the ones that conveniently popped up mid-session. We freed this prisoner from a prison that he's in for causing a war to free prisoners from a prison alongside people who we caused a war with after being prisoners and befriending a prisoner who won said previous war. This is why you add context to the plot. This is literally the entire plot so far. At the very least, Catbeard notes the next location we should go, along with the birdie Clockwork's bishop found. We have a real chance of finding another piece at the homeland of Marco Pollo's helmsman. Specifically, fellas, it's time to head over to Aquila. This means we're gonna have to fly through Monquista to arrive though, but yeah, no problem at all, because wouldn't you know it, Gortez won the Civil War. Yeah, well, wow, that's fun. Wow. Without checking in with Mr. Avery, we're gonna go and grab the next map piece Catbeard's talking about, requiring a journey across the land of Aquila, an ancient Greece location, a little behind on technological advances, but I personally quite love the color scheme and vibes found here. This location in specific brings a certain feeling of nostalgia and pleasantries to look at, significantly more than other locations, weirdly enough. Now in Wizard 101, you do briefly visit Aquila in this collection of fights called the Immortal Games, though it's a set of dungeons where you eventually go against the big three gods of Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, but they're all birds and you only explore Mount Olympus, aka the fanciest part of the world, as if you weren't already having everything handed to you as like a filthy upper-class wizard. Here, however, it's slightly more grounded. Like, you're still encountering all the creatures from primarily Greek mythos, but it's not like the A-list gods you know and love. It's more of secondary stuff that only nerds will remember, like the Oracle or those three ladies thingies from Disney's Hercules, but as birds. It was a great time, and now my only issue comes from the pronouncing of names, but that's nothing new. If you're a veteran here, you'd know I'm awful at names as much as I hate reading. In terms of history, Aquila is quite interesting, being the first world of the spiral to learn how to sail, having a golden age more than 1,000 years ago thanks to a little guy by the name of Hepatitis, using windstones properly, aka the things that even allow sailing through space to occur. The Eagles were the first race to bring writing, language, and philosophy to the people of Aquila, responsible for major developments across the greater spiral, and everything was great until somebody came in and ruined it all. In specific, Minos, king of the first Aquilan Empire. Aquila overthrows their rules, age of chaos and destruction, following millennia, remained almost entirely isolated, and worst of all for dear Minos, transformed his son into the Minotaur, full of hate and bad vibes, and I gotta be honest, I feel like this kid did nothing wrong. Why are they getting punished for all eternity for being related to a guy? By miracle, Aquilus, this golden eagle, would bring Aquila back to glory. He would build the Second Empire, establish a new government, and establish the city of Nova Aquila. He would defeat Minos' immortal Minotaur son, trap him in a labyrinth, and in the end was able to bring it back to its former glory. However, the population comes to the consensus that the Minotaur ever escaping its labyrinth would anger the gods again. They want to make sure that never happens, and it gets ignored until Nova Aquila sees wars with the neighboring lands of Troy, thus sparking the ongoing Trojan Wars that start around this point. As a test, the gods sent down a golden egg to see what would happen if it was around. It landed in Ilios, and this one guy, Eagles, finds it and brings it to the emperor, and they're happy about it, but the Gorgon folks, the Orphidians nearby, they weren't too happy about that, in part because they thought the egg was a serpent egg, not an eagle one. Both sides will be wrong, by the way. This is just a chicken egg. It's very disappointing. So like they sent out a tribute and held a feast, distracted everybody, stole the egg. They sent out like a bajillion ships with the greatest warriors, get stopped by huge stone walls blocking them off, and a decade later, Eagles gets fed up and flies home to Sparta. That's what we're coming up with. I feel very confident in the fact that we're gonna be burdened with solving all of this for everybody else. So meeting up with Gortez, delighted to see me, gives a big handshake with a firm gorilla grip. No, not that other kind. Welcome to Aquila. Catbeard notes we should start the search with his old friend Artacules, who will help us seek another member of Marco Polo's old crew, Argos. But where is Argos? Where did he go? I don't know. Why are you asking me? My last name is Finkel, and there are zero thoughts behind those piratey eyes. To find out, we gotta consult the Oracle and bring an offering as she gives us vague response upon vague response. First finding out Argus is lost in darkness, like that can help at all. To figure out more, we need the Mirror of Apollo, being held ransom, and to get it, we gotta go get some magic water or something. It's in Troy. We gotta go end that war, because of course we do. We can't win without Eagles. He's not gonna come back easily because he doesn't feel important. To convince him back in, we gotta do a bunch of little odd jobs, prepping him a Roderick Heffley Rager, meet his standards, break into the city, building a giant wooden mouse with our entire crew hiding inside, storm the gate, open the gate, head to the palace, defeat Sargon the Great Gorgon, get the water, get the mirror, Trojan War is over. Argos is revealed to be holding the doors shut to the Minotaur Labyrinth. After all that time, she reveals something that could have been very easily documented so that this would not have to have been a major war-ending grocery run. Thanks for that, Oracle. Desperate times call for desperate measures. The crew and I travel to the Serpent Seers and have to exchange all our first 5 years of memories to get this over with, like my entire childhood, any memory I have with my parents. I feel like there are several ways to resolve losing a portion of your memory, like you could just write everything down or have all that stuff happen. How much do you really remember in your first 5 years of memory? Would that completely rewire you as a person? At the absolute minimum though, this is gonna remove the pirate player's only memories of their parents before being killed off by the once again horrifying sky squids. At the very least, our crew claims they'll try filling in any forgotten information that we may have, so thanks for that, crew. Meeting up with Argos, he'd be totally cool with giving up the map piece, but we can't until we find a way to keep these doors shut with the Minotaur. His solution? Find Hawkules. This being exactly what it sounds like, a Hawk Hercules, usually a top 5 character. I like this guy. He's funny, he's cool, he's silly. Finding Hawkules first requires getting citizenship, sure. And then we learn Hawkules is a little troublemaker and has to do labor to make up for his misdeeds. Actually still causing problems after the fact, like he kills a freaking guy mid-labor, which is still very funny to me for some reason. Completely ignores it all. Hawkules comes up with us, decides that, hey, I don't want to hold the door forever. Let's go in there and just fight him. And so, after being warned countless times that there was this monster who had been causing pain and agony for over a millennia behind these doors, who also has his kids now because even the Minotaur deserves a special someone, it's overcame by something never expected: pay to win. Hooray, we did the thing. And just to be double safe, we're gonna try chaining the doors, although the only ones strong enough to do that are the ones stuck on the Hydra, so we just gotta go and kill the thing. We get this sacred flame of Apollo, burn it, kill it, get chains, seal gates. Hawkules joins my crew, add him to the pile of characters that might show up in a cutscene whenever convenient, and now we can go to Argos's house, and finally, after 2 worlds, 2 wars, and a whole bunch of things I'll have to add to my resume, we get the map piece. After we slaughter some more invaders. Argos' house was robbed during all of this. We can't have that. Oh my god, that took forever. But at least we can now proudly say we own another piece of the map for El Dorado. Very much interested in making it there, hoping something worthwhile is awaiting us. At the very end of this area, this very important fella, Ulysses, asked us to take a stone tablet. Interestingly enough, it has the same markings as those clockwork birds Bishop was investigating back in Marleybone. It has 2 Aquila languages, along with Krokotopian lingo from good old Krokotopia. So we take it to Marleybone, a place that my hatred has begun to fizzle out for, but still exists. A place that's currently dealing with a whole Croconomicon crisis thingy. That's for sure capable of destroying the spiral, but like, I already went through that in Wizard 101. Don't need to deal with that conflict. I already know how it ends. I already did that. I already beat that. There is only 2 people who are capable of translating this. Mycroft Bones, member of the Marleybone Navy, claims that his brother could help, but is too busy with the wizard quest. That's fine. Don't need him. Totally cool with that. But the second person who can help us, that's Meowiarty, and they're a bad guy and a familiar face. He pretty quickly summarizes what all the birds have to say. Seek Cagliostro, signed G. That's it. What could that even mean? Well, gang, to be honest, I don't even think it matters, because the fact of the matter is, I'm a pirate. And to be honest, I am just kind of tired of the whole find the map thing and like sailing everywhere instead of using magic wizard teleportation. Mycroft releases us from Marleybone's navy to the special branch that's expected to infiltrate Valencia. Our goal is simple. While doing this stuff on our own time, we're gonna infiltrate the military of Valencia, enter their capital and head of the Clockwork Army, and fully assure victory for this nation I became a legal citizen of less than a week ago. My friends, it has finally come. We're gonna go back to Valencia and end Kane and the Clockwork Army once and for all. And we're back. I don't mind double dipping. This adventure sees a fair amount of return to several of the crucial locations, and here it's pretty fun. And it makes sense too. We hardly grazed Valencia on the first visit. This gives us a proper chance to really get in there, confront this nation and their misdeeds, learn about it, generally put all of this behind us, and get rid of the main opposition in this race to El Dorado. Hey Avery, I'm about to go on a trip to Valencia. Might go stop a war, stop the Clockwork Army from being an army, if you care at all. I'm gonna go find some map pieces.
What?
I really don't remember what Captain Avery sounds like. After being mildly ignored by a no longer viable option for a father figure and having my self-confidence crushed, I head on over to Monquista with my dear old pal Gortez again. Happily ruling, growing the strength of Monquista as a nation, probably prepping to explore lands like Azteca, among other stuff, we're able to enter Valencia with a complete immunity under their excuse of improving international relations. To do this, Gortez provides us with his best diplomat, Don Armando, and we're just gonna have to be acting as his travel crew, more or less, sailing off to Valencia. There's just a vibe here I don't quite absorb during our last brief visit. Clockwork Army has ascended to an equal level to their organic life of Valencians, not quite manipulating one or the other, not quite overtaking either, but moving up to levels where we should absolutely be concerned by the fact that there is AI on equal level of humanity and nothing's being done about it. But how did we get to this point? Is there more to talk about? Are we missing any vital information? Well, yeah, actually, like quite a lot. We should talk about what else really went on in Valencia, especially before the events of this game and absolutely following Kane. Way back in the past. This is gonna be a spoiler, but G is short for Gazpacho, aka the grandfather of the Clockwork Army. We've seen this one picture of Marco Pollo's crew in El Dorado plenty of times, but there's way more to it. G was in the crew, he was traveling alongside Catbeard and my mom. That actually makes sense. That's a good fun little bonus reveal. Otherwise, El Dorado, the treasure world more or less, is possibly extremely dangerous to even step foot on. The island's filled with these golden sentinel golems, ones that are shown killing off a decent amount of, if not the majority of Marco Pollo's crew, and while escaping, it seems that one of them managed to sneak onto the ship, but luckily everyone was able to take it down. So with the remaining shares and treasure the crew was able to gather and splitting the map pieces apart, Gazpacho decides to take the remains of the sentinel itself as his share of the treasure. From here on, he spent a lot of time studying the ancient tech, learning it, potentially potentially leading to a new technological revolution. There were two major parts of the remains he holds an interest in, those being the mind and the heart. He is literally just a toy maker, one that wanted to become rich, thus leading to the start of his downfall. One day he's visited by the Tortellini clan, willing to pay him a hefty amount in exchange for more practical devices, immediately stops making toys and starts attempting to build an automata, aka robot men. No food, no wages, rich folk paid a ton for these troops, and then the Tortellini gang exiles G from Valencia. Oh no! He is pissed. Gizpacho dedicates years to create a perfect clockwork soldier with a free mind as a will and act of revenge. He dedicates years creating a being that would far exceed the legacy and skills of him. He creates Kane as the first of the clockworks, using specifically the mind of the Sentinel from El Dorado. The intention was to get assistance with Kane as a smarter craftsman, bring the Tortellini gang to financial ruin, and achieve the wealth he'd always desired. However, Kane wasn't built with the intention of artistry. Rather, he was made for revenge, and it reflected in his soul and actions. He was created for revenge on the Tortellini clan, and as such, allowed him to join the very same clan he was built to destroy, so therefore it went apart from there. Kane manages to start making his own army, his own empire of rule. He leads Valencia and the Clockwork Army to the victory of Napoleon during the Polarian Wars. He traps his father in a prison where he can be kept close watch on. The army expands, grows in power, and now we're at today, where Kane is essentially at an equal level to the King of Valencia, having to act as much of one of the staff members as he does a villain, waiting to plan out his own schemes and overtake. But this isn't a free win for him and the nation either, because we also have the resistance. See, after the end of the Polarian stuff, and giving the Clockworks full access to the ships and navy of Valencia, the assumption is that trade deals would be prepared following it all, but nope. Merchant companies were decimated. The entire class gets brought to poverty. The resistance was led by the remains of the great merchant houses, and led by Steed. You see, I told he was gonna be important. I said he was gonna be important like 40 minutes ago. There he is. He's doing things. Steed manages to form a greater resistance, not only in Valencia, but much of the Spiral. It was a complete stomp. Actually, no, it was worse than that. Almost the entire resistance gets completely wiped out. Like, it gets so bad that Avery was like, hell no, you're not welcome here. They're gonna kill us. You're not allowed here. So any of the members hoping to escape kind of sort of don't. They all just perish, and Steed manages to make it home in shame. And to assure a resource gap remains wider and wider for anyone who dare oppose him, Kane then makes a huge gap between common folk and aristocrats by blinding them with luxury and comfort, therefore unable to recognize the real intents of Kane and the dangers that the Clockworks may hold. The Armada then turns the capital of Valencia into basically their domain. Guinea pig workers, by the way, the guinea pigs are just like the secondary citizens of Valencia. It's really noticeable, by the way. They only get in servant and labor positions. Most of them are banished to the underground ghettos to work as slaves. Kane gets Valencia's population of the crustacean nation to act as secret enforcers and maintain the agenda. But still, after all this time and loss, the resistance comes back once again, being motivated from our last visit of Valencia, with the hopes of finally taking down the Clockworks however possible, this time opting to strike in the shadows and operate in the utmost secrecy. So wow, that was a lot for Finnegan Finkel to take in, and it's not a bad thing. A lot of this makes sense, and I think up to a point, we didn't need to spend all too much time learning about the true potential dangers here. I really do appreciate all the reveals taken here, and it actually feels like we have more justification to take down Kane. Up to this point, it felt like a fairly basic threat that of we need to stop them or else it'll harm the Spiral. It's just that here, it works because we actually get to learn how this mistake came to rise, along with the general cunning behavior of Kane in comparison to everything seen here. He's a genius, not in our favor. We have to get rid of him. Finally arriving at Valencia through Mooshu, the first thing we do as Finnegan Finkel is attempt to befriend the king. Unfortunately, we missed our scheduled time to talk to the king and have to take someone else's spot in line. So after helping this duke get some money he's missing, we entered the king's throne room where hi Kane, how are you? Guys, we need to run. After a quick battle with the Clockworks done out of impulse, Don Armando absolutely carries and helps pass our networking check, claiming Kane's mistaken. I'm an innocent ship captain and a dear friend of Gortez. So Kane looks like a stupid little idiot. Hate that cogsucker, what a nut job. Going over to the Resistance, properly meet them, ask about Cagliostro, and find out that's a forbidden name more or less. He's being followed around by a Commander Typhoon. Gotta break him up and find Cagliostro alone so there's time to ask him for help. help. Do that, we can find G and put an end to all of this. Sneak into the sewer, find him there. Next up is finding the inner circle of the resistance in order to grow in strength. This opportunity is given to us when this one lady, Desdemona, offers if we can save her innocent love Branzino from being sacrificed to death. And it totally works out. After giving a marble statue from Aquila, that's all it took. A statue that was more that's worth more than a life to these people. As we ignored that, find Steed and the inner resistance in this one room that I recognized from an asset flip from Wizard 101. Surely that won't happen again. I'm foreshadowing. Gaspacio's place of imprisonment appears to be the factory where the Clockwork Army is being built. Leave behind Don Armando. Tortellini clan causes problems for us, but hey, Gaspacio, how you doing? Gazzy is feeling a little bit silly for helping out with the creation of one of the biggest identifiable threats of the Greater Spiral, technically responsible for the ongoing war with Marleybone. Not my fault, it's his now. Just a whole bundle of things that went wrong because of him. He's kind of an awful person, but that doesn't matter. We need to confront Kane and kill him with violence. Oh, hi again, fool. Remembered him from Valencia Part 1? I sure do. Here he is again. We learn more about Fool here as well. Apparently, he's the first clockwork made by Kane, and his flaws are clearly identifiable. Fool is disgraced and more or so just going rogue, doing whatever he wants on his own convenience. He's gonna be helping us break in. Along with that, Gaspacio made a stop for the old Sentinel heart he had. He's gonna put it into Kane, because his logic is that he gave him a good mind. He can give the robot boy a good heart and make him oh so kind. He fails. Kane not only breaks the heart, but kills Gaspacio in response, as in a proper death, as in, oh my gosh, I didn't even know it was possible for a game to kill off a major character that's not an antagonist or a robot. Seeing this old, morally inconsistent, and not fully redeemed man lose his light and his life in front of me was weirdly a moment of disarray. Like, this felt too real for me to handle on a random weeknight of playing this game. Why was I watching this old man wither away in my arms on a Thursday night? Kane claims that he won and reveals his plan. First off, his intelligence is what carries him. As such, he was able to figure out the map to El Dorado despite only having 2 of the pieces. It took him 20 days to make the rest of the map as he made his own little version through the Mooshu Book of Secrets. I'm also taking this as soft confirmation that this entire arc happens across the span of like a month because it's funnier to think about, although I guess it could be more like real time. That's not nearly as fun to consider. And just because he freaking gosh diddly darn can, Kane made a machine with the purpose of recreating the first world again. Why do we keep having this as a villain objective? Oh, I want to bring back the first world. Oh, I want to bring back the first world. Guys, it sucked. You don't get cool sky islands. You had titans roaming around and making it awful for everybody else. Just leave it behind. This is so much cooler. With El Dorado, Kane wants to rebuild himself as the perfect perfection, just like in his mind. But no, Kane, you're a rotten bundle of bolts and you're a knucklehead. Have fun losing, idiot. First fight, it's a stomp. Kane considers this a small hurdle, demands his machine destroys itself while he escapes. It refuses, and then Kane just goes, all right, dude, I'm just gonna die with you. And then he creates a final battle on the top of his base. All his top members are present. Bishop made it back after Marleybone. Rook and Deacon got rebuilt following their destructions, and Queen is also there. Our time has come. My crew versus the head of the Armada. For Valencia, for the Spiral Powers, and for everyone, I have to win. And as I approach, as we do our attacks, I remember this was all done for the purpose of one man. One person who set me up for the success. One who was responsible for all of this. One that helped me as much as they ruined me. I am a changed person, and let me just say this. Captain Horace Avery, you are a fraudulent little bitch, and no matter how much of this lays on you, I will never respect you as a mentor or even as a person. And then El Toro got the last hit and we won. The fight didn't even feel that special. I wish we could use our entire crew here or something. Everything is just breaking apart. We gotta get out of this place, just barely get out of there, and we do it. Kane has been defeated. His machine takes away his special brain. His entire table of top warriors are gone. Without anything else, the Clockwork Army is bound to disappear. And we leave without grabbing Kane's 2 parts of the map. So now we only have 3 of the 7 pieces needed to enter El Dorado after all this time. And Finnegan Finkel kind of just accepts that he killed a major threat like that. It's kind of funny how fast he went up after all this time. I thought it would be a little harder. Right after my mom shows up, okay, hi mom, nice to finally meet you. Friendly reminder, I lost all my childhood memories. This might not even be her. All she does is thank us for saving the spiral, and maybe don't head over to El Dorado. Yeah, that's fine. Well, we will be ignoring that to be real. And briefly after notifying Captain Avery of my success, we are now a few more steps closer to El Dorado. I don't like you and I'm keeping the map forever. You suck, you're the worst, you suck. Everything seems to be at peace for a while. Probably worried about the cryptic shit my mom just said, worried for the future for El Dorado, and I'm a little scared in general, to be honest. But we don't have to worry about that. This arc has come to an end. And although there's still more to be done and more to be found in our pirating adventures, we can momentarily rest. Take a moment to reflect and appreciate the fact we did something good. By ending the Clockwork Army, we have liberated so much of the spiral and put one threat to a satisfying defeat. But what if we didn't? Well, this is complicated. I don't typically like looking behind the scenes in these larger retrospective adventure things. These aren't video essays, but like, it's still something we have to consider in this instance. Pirate101 took a bit of a break. Pirate101 was released in October 15th of 2012, and that's like prime Wizard 101 Golden Age era. Arc 2 of the game was in production. The game is a hit, it's very nice. I would say that it was the closest to my vision of the game, the best of it. Playing as Finnegan Jackalboots across this had become such a wonderful voyage throughout this portion of the game. Pirate, so far, had been much of the same. Now, across 4 years, Pirate101 made up the entirety of Arc 1, and that's totally cool. Valencia Part 2 comes out in June of 2016. It's a little bit on the shorter side, but it's not that big of a deal, you know? In Arc 2, I can't really articulate how I feel about this one. To give an idea, first major update comes out in 2021. It took 5 years after the end of Arc 1 to get any flake of continuation, and that perplexed me. I understand that this game might be less popular, that it might not be as fantastical or big, even though it's significantly more fun on a gameplay scale. Wait, who said that? What, who said that? Something happened here. Not something good, just something. The best way I can start to note what's going wrong is the best way I can. The intro. Yeah, notice that it's not a world. We're not going to new places anymore. Everything in Arc 2 is gonna take advantage of recycling, just like me and 35% of the jokes found in this video. You know what that means? There's not even really context in areas we visit beforehand. Now we're more so talking about what's coming up. The start of Arc 2 is kinda just referred to as Sinbad, as in Sinbad the Sailor. Like, it's no secret that a lot of this story picks and chooses a whole bunch of real-world inspiration in history and folklore to utilize, and here it's no different. We got the legendary Captain Sinbad. Sinbad was just doing whatever as a captain, being a pirate, going on adventures. He had crewmates like Albano and the Tombs, sailed the great ship of the Chimera, and then everything else falls apart. He got in some mischief while looking for the Belt of Champions, and then that's a problem because everybody else wants the Eye of the Liger and the belt that's connected to that. So Finnegan Finkel and the gang are gonna be revisiting Skull Island, Mooshu, and Marleybone on this. Nothing new per se, but really just like a whole collection of returning to locations. It's not like horrible, I just think it's weird how this becomes the objective when we literally only have a couple map pieces left for El Dorado, along with probably a bunch of secrets revolving around my parents, and again, El Dorado. With or without Avery peer pressuring me, I think we're too close to turn back. Arc 2 starts off with the surprise return of Mr. Gandry. He goes missing for almost the entirety of Arc 1, probably off doing pirate stuff with Boochbeard in the loading screens, and now he's back? Why didn't they do anything in the entire previous arc? It feels like they were just there as basic mascot characters, but hardly contribute to the larger story. Would have loved it if maybe they had contrasting ideologies in comparison to Avery. Maybe they expressed the love of being a pirate or something. Would have loved seeing more of the main duo in the story up to this point. Boochbeard's not even gonna be around at all. We never see him again. So Mr. Gandry shows up at the Skull Island hubs. Alerts of a crew looking for help. It's Sinbad's crew. We find first mate Albano as he warns of this entire enemy team called the Crushers that want to take Sinbad's special little belt of champions. And they couldn't take it off the creature that looks like a mix of an engineering professor and a furry. They kidnap him and take him back to the lair. Go to the lair, slaughter them effortlessly with the help of the mountains of in-game currency I've accumulated. Turns out the Crushers have had the belt to begin with. Sinbad just stole it and abandoned his entire crew in the process of this. Albano is hurt. He's betrayed. We're gonna find Sinbad and unlock the Eye of the Liger using the belt. Immediately detects he's in the ravaged valley of Mooshu too, which, like, very fortunate we don't have to sail to somewhere new. It's already an established location. Okay, great, good to know. Sinbad's cheating on his old crew with this other crew, the Iron Lotus. They hired him to help him with the belt. They're connected to a Kurga warlord. General Claw really wants the Eye of the Liger because it can just destroy any world of the spiral of his choosing. That's bad. Time to recruit Sinbad to the team and let Gandry know what happened, where the silly little monkey pal we all know and love reckons we should just go and, like, go steal the belt. We're pirates. The Eye of the Liger is actually in the belt. It's unbreakable. General Claw is gonna do a ritual to break it open. Run into Marleybone's dogs out of nowhere. Turns out Marleybonians are chasing the belt. Now we're under arrest. Marleybone, specifically Microsoft, has finally found out we were responsible for instigating this war with Valencia. To say the least, he's not too happy about this being the case. Imagine your war being started with a guy with Finkel in their last name. I'd be pretty upset too. And he wants to keep it on the down low for the benefit of everyone, but only if we do some favors for him. I guess stopping a losing war and helping to stop a bad guy planning on destroying a country-sized population isn't enough to equal out starting the initial war. Never mind, we deserve to be here. Here's a fun reveal. Claw was getting the eye while being backed by that bitch Napoleon, and it can't even do all too much. Just a royal artifact that can cause civil wars. Not really a weapon of destruction. Was literally gonna be used to cause a civil war. And then out of nowhere, for zero, and I mean zero reason, we get the most left field reveal of something I've ever seen in these games, and that's saying something. So somewhere post our visit to Marleybone, but before the Sinbad stuff, Mycroft and Sherlock Bones, Mycroft's brother, got into a fight against Claw to prevent him from getting the needed tools for the Eye of the Liger. This takes place in the awful evil world we in the Choopo Empire know and don't all too love, Caramel. Now, during the awful fight, Sherlock Bones falls to his death. Off screen. He is never going to be seen or heard from again, despite his prominence in both Wizard and Pirate 101. Why would you not show that? Why would you have an actually decent level death of a prominent reoccurring character and not show it? Sherlock Bones was in a loading screen and he's gone. Nothing was done about it. Could have had another moment like Gaspaccio's death where it felt like a genuine shock, but I guess not. Random obliteration of one of the guys we like, so sure. We go back to his old rival and nemesis, Meowyardi, justifiably shocked and upset that his intellectual equal perishes. Worth noting that old Meow Meow got taken away after the Wizard 101 Marleybone events. Nice cameo and dynamic. I wish we saw a little more, to be fully real with ya. The grief gets used to our advantage at the very least. In specific, it'll reveal enough of his scheme to get to where Mycroft is able to deduct this one engineer guy, Erasmus Wheeler. He's gonna try freeing Meowyardi, and he's in the sewers for the time being. There's also mentions of the returns of the Armada, especially underground following the death of Rook. Hey, I doubt it. Kill all robots, talk to Ricky Tarr, Mycroft's cover agent. They're nice. Eventually you discover Wheeler with a rebuilt Rook. The second time he's been rebuilt. That's fun. We have officially been freed for our war crimes. That's cool. By the way, the eyes open. Oh, look, our parents. Oh, wait, shit, my parents. I know them. They warned me of danger, dark magic, the deceiver, El Dorado, and then they disappear. Old Scratch realizes that, hold on, that whole spirit thing at the end of Arc 1 was a bunch of whack-tastical watermelon nonsense. This one's the truth. Tell Gandry what's going on. He says, he says stay close and to be continue. See, this is what I mean though. You can feel the differences to the game and between Arcs 1 and 2. Part of it is changes in priority and the multi-year gap, but I do look at this in confusion, wondering as into like why this was the case and why it was done this way. And to be honest, it only gets more complicated as we move through Arc 2. Like we literally just jump into the next thing. Don't believe me? Here it is. Time to go talk to Vedima, the nice witch doctor lady again. She says she can't feel my parents in this realm. They've been transported to the lands of the dead, or the dread Tartarus in Aquila. Now, you guys, this might sound like an entirely new location that we've never explored, and while that's technically true, during my quest in Wizard 101, I actually went to this exact same location. During the third and final dungeon found in the shorter Aquila, you actually visit where we're gonna go to the underworld, the HE double hockey sticks. caves. The one place that made Hercules old and scared me a little bit when I was 6. My mommy and daddy are probably in there. Kinda bothers me how, once again, the wizard character can just use their privilege to get free entry, but we gotta work for it. You never know what you have until it's gone. Golly gee. Now, Hercules, on account of being taken there before, he knows it's a scary place, that we need a guide, that we need Orpheus. He's depressed. He's a singer. His wife Eurydice died on their wedding day. Made a deal with Hades to walk away and not look back for his wife back, and he fails. The first part of this adventure is comforting this rando while reassuring him through his loss. Orpheus then notes we're gonna need to contact this one guy to get to Tartarus in the teeny tiny boat. His name is like, I don't know, Kevin or something. I don't know much about Greek mythos. We're gonna have to cram like all of the crewmates into the tiny little thing, and like I stopped considering how transporting our large crew worked a long time ago. It's not like it matters that much anymore. They all fit in my backpack somehow when traveling anywhere. Arc 2 in specific has this weird thing going on where only some crewmates will show up for cutscenes for the dialogue. You kind of block it out earlier on, but at this point it became so prevalent and almost added to this odd tone shift found later in the game. To get to Tartarus while being alive, you need an obol, this being a Greek coin that can be traded for a round trip to Tartarus. And obviously, as we've grown accustomed to by this point, nothing can be easy to grab. I'm tired, boss. Get the obol from a guy blessed at a high temple. Uh-oh, Hercules isn't allowed in Tartarus because what he did to Cerberus, the lovable three-headed doggy. Impacts us as well. I'm ignoring that. Orpheus finds us a proper guide. Hercules will be coming with us. The guide's name is Virgil. Give some time to us for his dear deceased wife, Eurydice. Do another chore for Virgil, guide now. Go to Delphos and summon Kevin. Bad news, we're alive. Can't take us down. Good news, Old Scratch is dead as hell. He can go down to Tartarus. We're under his company now. The good old afterlife. Stumble upon the ancient hero of Eagles. He's mad about our little adventure at Troy on account of wasting a decade dealing with that. We managed to end the whole conflict in an afternoon. Beat him to a fine pace. He has no reason to be acting like this. He doesn't deserve the claim to fame. But the Tartarus tourist adventure isn't done yet. Run into the sister of Medusa. These names are awful. This is awful for me. I'm not paying attention anymore. I probably should be dead by this point of the story, but natural selection has blessed me with plot armor beyond your wildest dreams. Head over to Hades' house. Hercules gives Cerberus a belly rub, and that's why he's not welcome there, because he likes dogs. And of course, Hades is quite upset we're here. Sends out these guards. They die, about to take our souls until our dear good old friend Death appears. The highest level of power in the underworld. He's delighted to see us and is gonna offer a job managing souls. We have proven our worth. We are networking with this guy. Just a lovely catch up with Death. Sit down and have some food together. Just a nice little sit down chat. He already knows we're here for our parents, but while also having issues finding their souls. There's deliberate foul play with the control of their souls, like a necromancer is using death magic, as in, you know, like the wizard kind through a death ritual, and no Old Scratch is asked to prevent this ritual. And let me just say, it's one thing to kidnap or abduct or even end the lives of people in this world, but holding the souls hostage, you know, that's a little too much. This is way too far for any of these nations. I just feel kind of horrible in this situation. Like, imagine dying and then having some uncool fella dicking around with your very essence. I wouldn't like that. I don't think you would like that. That's kind of mean. Hi, Eurydice. Here's your time. Head on over to the land of Pompeii. I guess Pompeii's here, sure. Death looks at the totems and notes the necromancer who stole my parents' souls appears to be in a dead world and is currently in Krokotopia. We gotta go follow him. Now, at this point, if you've been paying attention and haven't reduced me to second monitor material, I can tell you're sounding me out, by the way. That's right, Alex. I can see you. We're about to go to a new world, Alex. A place full of new experiences and adventures. Arc 2 may have had a stumble and tumble at the start, but it seems like we're finally gonna be going to some new places. Just kidding, this is the worst it gets. Krokotopia is, without exaggeration, the funniest jumble of ideas and problems that even somehow function, and it's incredible. Up to this point, Arc 2 has had its fair share of quality control issues. That's not too much of a shock. You make an MMO, and it's only a matter of time until people start catching the little hiccups and problems with the design and code in specific. Like, there's been some textures or walls that you can walk into. Sometimes hitboxes to initiate a fight have been disagreeable and a little bit outrageous. Sometimes you can just skip bosses because you just walk around the edge of the room in a certain way. When you get to Krokotopia, you realize how badly things have got. Pirate 101's on low heat of the back burner. That's not even on the right heat. That's not enough heat. The sauce is room temperature going to a weird temperature that isn't like bad, it's just like weird and semi-bad. So weird that the ever iconic yellow arrow of guidance didn't even bother showing up anymore. It kind of just dies. There are no more expansive environments. Sailing has become obsolete. It's been obsolete. The Krokotopia location, even though new to me, actually gets recycled from a Wizard 101 dungeon. This area of Krokotopia being known as Zigzag, aka a dungeon that I never bothered to complete. Bonus content more than anything. I'm sure it was cool, but I still see that Wizard 101 battle arena every time I close my eyes any more of this game, and I'd realistically see myself in a psych ward. I do not blame anyone in specific for the quality found here. It's clearly scrambled together one way or another. But this is making side content in one game fully mandatory in another, and the mandatory one just so happens to clearly not have been built for this. There's only like 4 spots that you can actually get initiated in a fight, and you just have to be so careful with your movement and not start these unneeded fights for us. Plus, it's stretched fairly thin. In most of the areas in this game, you'll go back and forth, but you're also experiencing new lands as you travel, advance the plot forward. Take the continued effort to absorb these environments, learn the justification and story for being here. You know, like take the time to learn these places so that when things actually pick up, you care for what's going on. Wizard does a good job adding stakes at most points. Filler is filler, but it can be good. Good filler is great to see. Pirate doesn't rely on that filter nearly as much, but it also expects you to already hold decent knowledge of a lot of the returning locations. Plus, it's far more of a personal journey. Krokotopia is empty nonsense that is so condensed that it all meshes together. You're not going on a journey, you're just there. You warp to this place and deal with the abhorrent horrors as everything up to this point falls apart. The worst feeling of it all though, it takes time to get here. You spent upwards of dozens of hours of getting to this point to get this niche, complicated nightmare realm. It feels like a mod and fan experience, and easily the worst part of the game, but also was just funny seeing previous design methods not get utilized. Like nothing understood why it worked. I'm still thinking about this one L turn that you have to spend minutes timing to maneuver around. Otherwise you get caught in an unneeded fight in this like tiny little pathway. Why would you put enemies in that? This is a treasure. Our goal is pretty simple. Find the necromancer in Krokotopia in the Temple of Anubis. Around this point of the story, Krokotopia is facing civil problems among its populace while also dealing with those rotten Marleybonians stealing their stuff, taking it to museums. And we see a very small amount of that stuff. But first we gotta talk to Avery. No jokes, no BS, just as dear Finnegan Finkel as a person trying to show respect in these trying times. Hey. Hey. I'm sorry I said all that mean stuff to you earlier, but you really deserved it. But that doesn't matter, I need something from you. How does one get to Krokotopia without sailing? My hands hurt from sailing, and I would appreciate never having to do it again.
Calico Jack should be able to help you out. I never liked you.
Giving this kitty cat some cotton is enough for him to be our Uber. Do that and see Marleybone once again fighting in the Armada, as if nothing happened to end this war, even though I really thought they would fizzle out by now. Also, oh shit, the Armada's back. Hi. Fighting time, free some Manders. These are the citizens of this world, by the way. For some reason, we spent a lot of time protecting the cotton, and it appears the Queen is responsible for the Armada now, because friendly reminder, she actually survived. Gonna keep helping out the Marleybonians, helping out when we can. This whole environment's a wreck. Make it to Anubis, fight some Draconians and Temple Guards. Finally, who the hell are you? That is Oksana, heir to the lost throne of Dragonspire for some reason. And I'm not saying this lightly. I'm not exaggerating here. Out of all the villains and antagonists created in these 2 games, across over 300 hours of gameplay and dozens of options, Oksana is the worst villain of this franchise. Such a left field moment, I might add. Like Dragonspire's always teased in the background. It's a destroyed location that shines specifically in Wizard 101. But here, it just makes no sense unless you played at least 30 hours of an entirely different video game. There is almost zero indication of this character, and so far they have no substance. My favorite part is that like a lot of Wizard characters in this universe, they just reuse the basic player model, and it feels like a random OC. Destroy a portal, go back to the home base, that's it, that's Krokotopia. What's the point of this? I wasted 3 hours for nothing. Ah! It's time to go back to Valencia again. Yeah, this is cool, actually. We already know what Valencia is. It's where the Armada was made. It's the place where they tend to run operations. It's stupid and kind of works. I actually enjoy Valencia number 3. Bonnie Ann recommends starting off by looking for the Mare of Flotsam. Apparently, Flotsam has a mare, and she can help find Oksana. I hate these names. Head on over to One-Eye Jack, tells us where the mare is. Mare Nancy, she's fun. Oksana is part of the Exiles. She'll tell us more when she gets the chance. Gonna spend like a few weeks figuring it all out. So I guess while my crew's is waiting, minding their own business, basically like having a barbecue and a day off with my coworkers more or less, Bonnie Ann just brings up the possibility of, oh, we never got the map pieces from Kane when we killed him. Let's go do that if we're waiting. And then whatever crewmates they could get for voice acting unanimously agree with each other, unrelated, but it's very funny that in canon, a lot of the crewmates have never spoken to each other. Like Sinbad didn't even know who Catbeard was or that he existed until he like randomly starts speaking again after 2 or 3 segments of Arc 2. This feels like watching a little kid making like plush videos, Total Drama Pokemon or something, where they just like one take everything. And then like, this game is written by Andy from Toy Story. He is the lead writer. The way these characters just speak and show up and move to each other. So we get to Valencia, talk to Steed. Yep, the queen is still alive, currently in the Trianon Palace. We need to do a freaking heist. Steed reckons we go to a tavern because we can find directions there and whatnot. Takes us to Ardito. He's a hamster, but not one of the slave ones. He joins our crew. We will never see or think about them ever again beyond this point. Ardito's other hamster pal, Aldo, brings us in. Bing, bang, boom. We're in the palace for a heist. Unable to enter via sewer. Able to go through the banquet hall doors, through the ballroom. Queen's here and warning that there's keys somewhere hidden across the palace. And somehow, if we don't find it in time, she's gonna remove all the oxygen in this place. No, that's not how oxygen works. Our crew is huge. Surely we could break out of this place. Also, why didn't you just remove the oxygen to begin with? Wouldn't that just prevent all intruders forever? What is even the logic here? No keys are found, but Queen dresses up as her fallen comrades. She uses magic powers or whatever to remove the oxygen again. What fool returns and saves the day? There was never a key in one of these rooms. It was a ballroom the whole time. Surprised, the Queen has a secret exit though. Fool reveals himself, stops Queen from, I guess, holding aristocrats hostage in a party later in the day. But you removed all the oxygen. Why would I don't care. We're almost done. We're almost done here. Grab the key, get into Kane's crypt where all the remains were placed. Map pieces are there, but his head's gone, dude. His head's completely missing, and the Queen's not all too happy about that one. We fight her like 5 times in this area, by the way. She's not really a major threat as far as we can tell. Probably like a setup villain to Oksana, if I were to guess. And looking into a chest, there's 3 map pieces. We got 6 out of 7. At this point, I feel like you could pretty easily figure out the last segment, but we got him. Go back to Mayor Nancy, hoping her spies can infiltrate and learn about the exiles. Nope, they died. To be continued eventually. And now you are caught up with Pirate101. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding. That's where the story ends. Are you expecting something better here? Are you unsatisfied? This game has been out for 12 years. We would be lucky to even see El Dorado at this point, and I really hope we do. But I can't really say I'm gonna be there to see it or anything. It's just really complicated because, once again, consider my perspective playing this game. I was fortunate enough to always have multiplayer, so I wouldn't be silently running through hours of fights at a time. I used my YouTuber money when we were in a crisis to guarantee a win, which you can just do. Friendly reminder, I dropped hundreds of dollars worth of in-game currency for the bit. I will never financially recover from that, but whatever. It's complicated. I didn't run side quests or upgrade quests like you're supposed to. I simply played the video game with the utmost tunnel vision, committed to the main quest. I learned about the environment surrounding me and went on my merry little way. I didn't train my pet because I didn't need to. I didn't upgrade my ship because I didn't need to. I didn't really edit the house I bought because I didn't need to and I wanted to. I did this because I had to. Because if I didn't get to this point, if I didn't scratch that itch on the back of my head wondering where this game and world were gonna take me, then who would? I would have loved this if I was a kid and got a free membership. I probably would have never been able to leave Skull Island. Maybe I would have made it to Monquista at some point. But a big thing about these classic MMO games is the novelty of them, the nostalgia factor from how different and accessible this era of games was in comparison to everything else on the market. You know, it kept ringing in my mind, like I've played these games before and I expected an identical experience from the Straining Wizard 101 journey, but I just You know, I didn't, and that's good. I should have just been prepared for this reality then. Please remember my intention of this expedition. It was a personal demon that I needed to know, so by the end, when you're in it for the long haul, it's complicated, yet has the potential to be a fantastic time. So with that being said, I would actually recommend this game. I know there's been a lot of not nice stuff said about Arc 2, but Arc 1 is absolutely worth it. I'm serious, only play Arc 2 if you already enjoy the game. There is a subscription service, so here's what I genuinely recommend you try. Buy 1 month of subscription, immediately cancel it, or write down when it ends. I believe it's a month, but just to be safe, set up like 25 to 28 days ahead of purchase. Give it a shot, help this game out, and maybe wait until a free membership event or something. If you enjoy top-down strategy RPG games, or if you gave Wizard101 a fair shot, I truly think you will enjoy this game as just like a fun little thing. It's on Steam. I fully recommend this for the joy I did have. The sailing is cool until it gets a little annoying and then completely forgotten. The yellow arrow of guidance and kindness got wonky on occasion. The crewmates will pretend to be characters every once in a while. This is flawed, but a fun flawed. I'm curious to see where this game can go. I'm sure it will be fun. And King's Isle, please put me in both of these games. You have my consent for me to appear or cameo or reference. Please, it would be really funny. After completing the heist to Valencia, looking at my incomplete puzzle, my unfinished map, knowing that just like this map, something was missing. I took a victory lap sailing through the lands as I was saying goodbye to everything. I grabbed my gear and made my way to Avery's little base of operations just one final time. Captain Avery, I'm retiring from this whole working for you thing. I'll be keeping the map pieces, but truthfully, I just want to go home. I want to play Elden Ring, or just to leave. I want to go back to my cool, awesome little space fort. I don't need to be here anymore. I'm not a pirate, or a wizard, or even some other thing I can't think of. I am me. And maybe that's all I need. Maybe that's better than some of the treasure or Elden Ring, but I'm willing to accept that because I am better than you. You are a sad husk on this desolated land while I'll continue forth and shine in a way you'll never believe. I am better than you, Captain Avery. And with that being said, please let me leave this hellhole. I no longer wish to be a part of your scheme.
You know what, kiddo? I think I despise myself a million more times than I could ever hate you. So here's what you do. You close your eyes and put out your map pieces and repeat after me. There's no place like home. 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 There's no place like home.
There's no place like home. And that was the bizarre lore of Pirate101. Still not satisfied with this ending? Me neither, but it's okay because I'm free. And there's one more thing I gotta do actually. I promise this is worth it though. It's not success unless you have someone to share it with. It was never gonna be possible without the help of dedicated players to complete this whole Spiral saga. I reflected, I thought, I considered, and ultimately I recognized that only now there was far more behind this adventure than just the games we played. For at this point, 2 years, I have had the thoughts and curiosity, the ambition and wondering of what laid at the end of this tunnel. What was the treasure that lay at the goal? And what satisfaction would this all bring me? But foolishly, I failed to recognize and appreciate the fact of the journey itself, making it there, those late nights that felt like eternity, those long sessions to reach something we didn't know was gonna be worth it. This was our journey. This was a story that'll never be shown or shared because there's nothing to provide. This is a collection of memories that were made to make this a reality. We went on a journey together. We went on one of the dumbest missions we'll ever be on in our lives, and in the end, regardless of what happened, I must thank my crew because truly, they did more than I could have imagined when starting this. With that being said, a captain is only as good as their crew, and thank you to the brave pirates who made the time commitment and effort to get to the end. After what felt like an endless adventure, I must properly thank each and every one of you for your contributions and willingness to tolerate my bullshit for so long. You are stronger than Finnegan Jackalboots or Finnegan Finkel. You made this happen. And going even further, I need to thank the 3 people who remained dedicated to this quest from the start. Those folks who were there since my first calls to aid in Wizard101. Mongo, Choopo, Nitro, Boblin, you have each remained by my side on this adventure for no other reason than the fact you could. I know I've said it before, but it has to be said again. Thank you. I will never forget some of the absolutely ridiculous things that have occurred across these games, from our talks to our battles. This is truly what the MMO experience is supposed to be like, and I'm glad it was you guys. As a matter of fact, thank you to everyone watching, the dev team for your continued support despite my criticisms and antics. Please continue to improve your games and grow to something greater. Congratulations on the console release. And of course, thank you for watching. You have, for one reason or another, watched me pour an embarrassingly high amount of my time to document a collection of children's video games from over a decade ago because nobody else was going to. My time in the spiral seems to have come to an end for the time being. No idea what I'll do next for a majorly stupid project, but please, if you haven't, check if you're even subscribed. If you're not, please do. If every person watching this subscribed, I would have like a lot more of those subscriber things. So please, please, please do. Check out my socials. I got merch, and please support the upcoming makeshift plush. If you fellas support this limited time offer, we can make another cool little plush, this time being a pirate, and be a reality, and I would truly love to share them out. Speaking of King's Isle, I know you're watching this. Send me merch now. I'm an XL on shirts, double XL on hoodies. I swear on my pajamas and my pancreas, if I don't see a hoodie and throw blanket at my doorstep in the next week, there will be hell to pay. That's all I got. Thank you. Bye-bye. I'm done playing these games. Yeah!